The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over. Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Oh, hi, good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Welcome in, everybody. Hope you had a great Monday. Hope you had a great start to your day. We are off and rolling here on a Tuesday. Justin Kinner, we got Jimmy, Casey, Elliot, and Jacob, and I think what this is called is consistency now.
That's right.
This is called consistency. It's the same faces, back-to-back days. We're on a roll.
Yeah,
I think we'd like to call that a streak.
That's true. That's true. Maybe we get 12 in a row at some point. That'd be big.
That would be
we
big.
know how
That'd be really big.
much that can affect this city. So
That's correct. We all get extended.
if we can, that's
I'd
right.
say-
That's right.
I'd say we probably won't get 12 in a row, though.
no, I would assume. I would assume not. Maybe we get close though. Maybe we get close.
Jimmy, you went to a big game last night. Big match.
I did.
The biggest match in the history of matches.
He's
Is that
just
what you
not
call
allowed
it?
to lead off the show.
Yeah.
You can't lead off
We
the
start
show
from left
as
to
it is.
right.
You can't go soccer first.
I'm just asking how his night was. And by the way,
Yeah.
I don't need a whole recap of the game or the match.
yeah.
I don't know what you call. What do you do with soccer?
The football.
The football. So how was your experience at the football match?
It was great. I had a
All
great
right,
time.
Casey, how are you doing?
There we go.
No, it was great. I had a great time. They FC they weren't playing all their best guys for this tournament. So
For him to jump on that. Sorry, I was just
No, I'll just let him go.
so they were down early, and then in the 79th minute they scored their first goal, and then they scored 3 more goals in the span of 5 minutes.
I heard
It was
FCC
pretty
never
awesome.
had a chance.
That's what New York said.
That's what
That's what New York said, and then we had to hold their hands as they said that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that New York team, that's a minor league team.
No, it's an
that's
MLS team.
That's an MLS.
So you,
team.
just play anyone. at
That's a
any time.
team that FC has notoriously struggled against as well.
Were they playing their starters?
That I do not know.
Of course they
I don't-
were.
I don't yeah, of course they were.
Well, the last time FC Cincinnati had a big win, I come in and I was all excited. We beat Miami,
Yeah.
and you were like, "Yeah, no one worth a damn played in the game." So,
Well, they had bigger games. They had bigger
well,
fish
of
to
course,
fry.
everything's bigger than the MLS.
So
I genuinely don't understand.
Thank
like,
you.
If
That
you're
was my
gonna if you're gonna
comment,
do an in-season tournament, but nobody really cares, why are we watching and why are we giving it? It's like a preseason tournament in the middle of the season.
Yeah,
I genuinely don't get it.
So I don't even think the teams, because the teams were threatened if any of the players spoke out against this specific tournament that they were going to be fined. So I don't even think the players want to play in this specific tournament because it's like meaningless to be
you
honest.
want me to
with
get
you.
excited about the win? The players don't even care.
Nobody cares.
It's just it's a tournament between the MLS and Liga Mexico, and there are other big tournaments, including the MLS Cup playoffs coming up. So
I think it's just because it's maybe it's just the newest of the tournaments,
Yeah.
and the other tournaments have been around longer. I think that's the only real logical explanation for it. Because, I mean, at least from when I've watched FC, they've never played their full starters out there unless it was for advancing to the finals or something like that, where they had a chance to actually win it. Right. They don't put it. Most of those teams don't put in their full effort until they make it past the first couple of rounds, and then they try to win it because it's a trophy in your trophy case. But
My close personal friend Michael Ackley told me that I have to hate the Leagues Cup.
Yes.
So I'm going
Okay.
to choose to do
he did
that.
tell me that
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I'm going to side
I'll
with
hate
him.
that.
He texted me and said, he texted me during the match when they were down 2-0, and he was like, "Oh, this is pointless. It doesn't even matter." And then if they score 4 goals, and he's like, "Oh, what a stupid match."
Yeah, he was in the chat early this morning saying how much the game sucked last night.
Oh, really? Michael Ackley. I want to watch soccer. I want to care about it, but they do stuff like this, and it's I was at a bar last night, and the entire bar was cheering for it. They were getting rowdy, and I'm like, you guys know that nobody cares, right? I can't fathom it. If the Reds played a regular season tournament in the middle of the season against, I don't know,
The team Trevor Bauer's on.
the team Trevor Bauer's on, I'm not going to watch it. I don't care. Because it's going to be us starting scrubs and nobody gives a damn. I don't.
How much different would that be from last night?
Well, not money, not much. But my point is just like I don't get it. The NBA has an in-season tournament. They still play all their guys. It's not like they're like taking a vacation. This is like a vacation tournament.
Well, what's funny about the game last night is it was basically all subs that scored goals yesterday. And they were guys that put in starting time.
You're just not helping your case, man.
let me say this. Now that they've advanced, I think they've won both their games, right? And they're advancing. Yeah. They probably will take it a little more seriously because they've given the rest of the guys more chance to rest. So I don't know if they're going to come out right away and start all their guys the next game, but I think
why
they
would
will
you want
definitely
your players to play in this?
Just for medal, like you're getting a trophy.
Even if it's a medal, if it's a tournament, it doesn't matter. Like, why wouldn't you want your guys focused on the postseason tournament of your league?
No, we want a championship in Cincinnati. We're not getting parade for the league's cup.
That's true.
I 100% agree with you, and I think the players would agree with you as well. But
Kubo scored.
But
no, he did.
He
came on late.
You can, you can build out your trophies in your trophy case, especially when you're a new team like FC. You want to fill up your trophy case. You want to dominate all the leagues that are.
Yeah, but if I fill up my trophy case with garbage, then who cares?
He's on a roll today.
But it's all just so they have more trophies to sign Ronaldo.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's
the
all
more
relative.
impressive they look.
All the trophies are garbage.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here or not. When that story broke, I think a week or 2 weeks ago, when they said MLS would fine any player, coach, anyone that would criticize this, they get fined. Imagine NBA Adam Silver fining LeBron James for well, that's the only title he could win in LA lately. But I'm just saying. But imagine, LeBron technically
no one else has won it.
Yeah,
right.
Technically, LeBron
Jordan never did.
Jordan never won it.
Jordan never won it.
Couldn't hang.
That's
couldn't
right.
hang. But no, I remember LeBron came out initially and said whoever came up with the in-season tournament should be fired. And then, ironically enough, he goes on to win the very first one. But he would be fined if it was MLS's model, as far as that's concerned. But look at that. A lot of football talk to open up the day. Jimmy even has his football cup.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that.
Got
lined with players who didn't play.
FC Cincinnati Cup.
Did you bring us the bobbleheads?
We have this wonderful table of bobbleheads here, right?
No,
you can't even see it. But,
yeah, that was pretty weird.
Jimmy sent, I think, 2 pictures of FCC bobbleheads in the group chat and asked if we wanted them in the studio. Not a single reply.
It's okay.
Not even a reaction. No one even liked the picture.
So in full transparency, I had a response typed out.
It probably wasn't very nice.
But I said, I think the question was, do you think this would look good on our table? And I said, I've got a garbage can. It would look even better in it. And I didn't say it. I had it typed out, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to start a fight right now. We'll just watch the Reds and get on with it.
That's right.
I was in there for a couple minutes while my friends were looking around, and by the time we were about ready to leave and no one responded, I was like, whatever.
So Justin Big Love Tolls in the chat says you guys need the UDF cups up in here. We need to reach out to our friends at UDF.
That's right.
Yeah.
And get those cups.
It's true.
The Reds ones, all of them.
Maybe we will. Maybe that's today's task afterwards. Unless you'll be too busy doing social media stuff. So
that's right.
That's right.
You may not have time. All right, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Hope everyone had a good night. Again, this started with just asking Jimmy how the football match was.
Of course.
But Casey, hope you're well. You came in talking smack, so I'm not going to give you the mic too much right now because you'll get your takes in later. Taking shots at the Browns.
He's got that new shoe groove.
The new shoes. All black shirt, all black pants, all black hat.
I'm wearing all black because I'm about to send the Browns to their grave early. Dude.
What the hell is happening?
I love that.
Casey, we'll get to it.
What are they thinking? I just don't understand.
They're thinking about bettering their team. I know Jacob hates that. Jacob hates when teams add good players to their roster. He hates that. He hates it. Now you hate it too. We'll get to that. So you were at a bar, Elliot?
Huh?
You were at a bar last night?
I was.
Are you
hungover today?
Do you think I drink a lot?
I'm just trying.
Boy, do I have something to tell you.
All the time. No, I think I know. You don't drink a lot,
so yeah, I was there last. My buddies and I we do a bunch of drafts. Justin Edgel, $1.99 super chat. Can we talk about Trent Brown's arm tat?
Oh, we will. That's in training camp news.
Okay. So we'll talk about that in a second, Justin. Justin, I believe, also was camped out today for the legal marijuana sales at one of those shops. So, Justin, hopefully you're enjoying your time right now, your morning. But yeah, we were at a bar last night. My buddies and I, we draft silly things. So last night was the draft of we each pick 8 college football teams. And whoever has the most wins at the end of the college football season wins X amount of money.
I like that. So
we do that. We do NFL wins. We do pretty much college basketball teams. We do pretty much every major sporting league. And we bet on it and we draft. It's very fun. And so last night we went there and did that. And it was a FC sponsored bar. I guess FC Cincinnati has partnerships with bars whenever they play. They have to have their games on the TV.
That's the only way they can get them on.
Correct. So last night, I'm not kidding, the Reds were on, and there was about 15 TVs with FC on, 1 TV with the Reds. Mm-hmm. So I went up to somebody, I'm like, we got to change all of them. So I went up, and they're like, okay, because there was like 5 people at the main bar watching it, but the other TVs, they didn't need to be on, so we changed all of them back to the Reds.
Nice.
Good man. That's a good man.
Doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, that's a
By
good
the way,
man.
they said Justin got there at 4:20 a.m.
Good for him.
Oh.
Good for him.
Wait,
Good time.
That makes sense.
Yep. It
I
makes
understand
a lot
the
of sense.
joke.
Yep.
so who did you draft?
I drafted, with my first pick, Oregon. I had the 3rd pick.
I like that.
I took a couple other sleepers late in the draft. I took Miami from the MAC. I'm trying to remember because it's based on solely wins.
Yeah.
Right. So if it's like a bad team in a bad conference, if they're able to win in that conference,
Florida State could have
Have
actually
you-
won that.
correct.
Have you heard
Correct.
of
Florida State would have been a great pick.
Have you heard of Omni Fantasy?
What is that?
It's like you start after the Super Bowl. My friends and I at school started doing it this year. You start after the Super Bowl and you draft a team from every league in America.
Oh, that's cool.
And then based on how they do it throughout the season is how many points you get. So if they win their championship, you get the most amount of points for that league. And we did all like the big sports and then like the MLS and like the World Cup and the Olympics teams with the most medals, like women's college basketball, all bunch of college sports. And you would think like, oh, I want to take the Chiefs first, or you could take like USA Olympics and like to get the most medals, and you would like kind of guarantee more points. So like the number 1 overall pick was South Carolina women's basketball. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. I like that.
That does sound cool.
All my teams stink.
How many people did that?
We did it with, I think it was either 10 or 12. It took forever. It took us.
Sure. That sounds like a
Yeah,
long
to
drive.
go through, to be honest. It's a lot.
But Casey, you are not allowed to talk about the Browns until I give you permission to talk about the Browns. That's the only rule for the rest of the show here today. Because I'm about to tell you why Joey Burrow sucks coming up here in just a few minutes. I'm
That'll be
joking.
great
I'm
for our
joking.
audience.
I'm joking, everyone.
Chad already loves you
I
so
don't-
much.
I don't need the Bengal Bros to get all fired up in the chat. I don't need that. Not so early, at least. But again, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. You talked about those Reds. I see you got the Reds hat on today, Elliot. You are back in full support. The season's no longer over. They are back on top.
No,
You
no,
are
no,
bought
no.
in.
No,
Big
no.
Reds fan.
That was a trend last night I saw on Twitter, too. It was a bunch of people saying, if the Reds sweep the Marlins, they're not back, but I'm going to start to believe they're back. And I'm like, we can play this game all day long. Again, we know against the very worst of the worst, the Reds are good. Against, for some reason, the very best of the best, the Reds are good. Against the Chicago Cubs, the Reds are good. Outside of that, the Reds are really bad.
And the bad
So
thing about that is that other category has 26 teams in it.
Yeah, tough. It's just one of those things where I don't take these games like a live or die thing anymore. It's just do your best, try your hardest. Let me watch Elly De La Cruz shine, and outside of that, I don't really care. I want the Reds to be successful. I want them to win, but I refuse to get my hopes up anymore because I know if they win this series, they'll lose the next series, and it's just a game of flip flop. Just like most of my takes. So that's what it's going to be, and I'll suffer through it. But that's all right. We are all Reds fans. That's what we are.
That's right.
We're
That's
Reds
right.
fans. That's what we are.
Last night was about the pinnacle of a game that you can expect for the rest of the season. An Elly showcase doing something historic, and then the Reds, scoring a bunch of runs. That's probably the best we're going to get the rest of the season. I don't know how many more we're going to get. Hopefully a handful here or there. But, yeah, I mean, Elly's incredible. Up to 20 home runs already, 4 steals away from 60. I think he'd be, the 6th or 7th player to ever go 30-60? or
Yep.
2060 if he gets
Yep.
there. So,
Yep.
yeah, incredible. Historic run for him in his first full season at age 22. So, just more to come.
Well, I thought Elly could have done better on the base paths last night. Really struggled.
Yeah.
Couldn't get a steal. I mean, I was kind of disappointed, mainly because 2 nights ago, for him to get 2 steals, it was like $10 to get $100 or whatever. So I put $20 down, and then I get to talking, and I never hit submit. So I thought I was going to win $200. I was so jacked when I saw that he had the 2 steals. So then I did it last night, and he doesn't get any steals. He does absolutely everything you could imagine.
Well, you shouldn't have taken it last night.
Yeah, you got to wait.
He was in the Bally Sports parlay.
Oh.
You know that never hits.
Yeah.
Now, they do a great job, right, Elliot?
They do a great job.
They do a great
They
job.
try their best.
No one
3
better.
for 80 on the year.
Yeah, it's
They
a
got
shame
extra-
we're not
I
going to
mean-
get 160 losses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of good that came out of last night, like you talked about with Elly and just beating up on a bad team. But it's another one of those games where they win big and the run differential goes up, but they don't make any ground.
That's
in the,
true.
They don't make any ground in the wild card because all the teams ahead of them also won.
But that Pythagorean win-loss goes up another tick.
That's true. It does. Plus 35 on the run differential. Just
They're
wait.
now-
Just wait.
We got to go to break, but I did see another stat. There was some player I always see these when a player starts. What's the Reds' record? When Noelvi Marte starts in games, the Reds are 17-11 this year.
Ooh.
When Tyler Stevenson starts in games, the Reds are 45-33.
I like both of those numbers.
I guess we just got to see more Melee. More Melee.
More.
No doubt about that one. By the way, I'm glad you brought that up because last night's game, another, win by 7 runs, and then it just adds to that run differential. And then again, that's what. By the way, sports talk hosts love that tweet from Bowden yesterday. Like,
Yeah.
you guys got to lean into that. You just debunking it and acting like it's nothing. I was like, what are you doing? Like, you should be leaning into that. Yes, the Reds are underachieving. They're a great team that's underachieving. There were so many layers to that, and you're just like, nah, it's dumb. It means nothing. But I used it on my show yesterday.
Good for you. Double dip. Double dip.
All right, more off the bench when we come back. We're going to talk about Elly De La Cruz, his fantastic night last night. Again, just a mega star for the Cincinnati Reds. We talked about it yesterday. There's just something different about him, obviously. But then you got Joey B. Everything he touches turns to gold right now. The Cincinnati sports fan base, they have so many stars to pull for, arguably 2 of the biggest stars in all of sports. We'll talk about that next. Elly De La Cruz last night goes 4 for 5, 4 hits, 3 runs scored, 3 RBIs, 2 home runs, no steals though, as we talked about a little bit ago. What a bum! But what a fantastic night last night. Like those performances from Elly, you seem to get those about once, every 2 weeks. It seems he drops. I mean, he's very consistent. He's been pretty consistent for the Reds all year, but he just reminds you that he's just different. We've talked about how the Reds have had an influx of really talented players throughout the last 100 or 365 plus days over the where we thought the team was back. Right? You look at Matt McClain. Obviously, Spencer Steer's been really good. Obviously, Jonathan India, Tyler Stevenson over the last couple of years. Bottom line is those are your typical really good players you get, right? Like a lot of times, even bad teams will call up players from the through their system that come up and look really good. And the Reds have had a lot of that over the years. I mean, Jonathan India is one of those that they called up and looked really good, wins Rookie of the Year. Tyler Stevenson looked really good and has been really good throughout his time here. Inconsistent, but really good at times. Christian Encarnacion Strand showed signs last year, was inconsistent during his early time with the Reds this season, of course. But the bottom line is when you call up a star, when you call up talent through the system, you just pray and hope that they're going to be consistent enough to give you the production that you're looking for, to be able to piece as many of these young pieces together to put you in position to win. But then you get a once-in-a-lifetime type player like an Elly De La Cruz, and it's like, whether it's luck, whether it's whatever you want to call it, Elly De La Cruz is a once-in-a-generation type player. And what I'm fascinated about is, what do you do with him if you're the Cincinnati Reds? And this isn't a whole do you extend him? Of course, you got to do everything you can in your power to get a deal done with him to make sure he's the face of your franchise for many, many years to come. But the problem is with baseball, it's terrifying because sometimes you have a team that may not be able to financially afford that. Who knows what the Reds are going to be able to do if it does come down to that when it's all said and done. But the bottom line is, it's not like football where you get a Joe Burrow and you instantly know you got your quarterback, you're a contender. The Reds have a once-in-a-generation player, and it doesn't automatically make them a contender. the Cincinnati Bengals get a Joe Burrow, they're instantly a Super Bowl contender. You know, when he said that Joe Burrow said that the Super Bowl window is going to be as open as long as I'm here, you know, that's big time for that organization. You know, obviously they're going to be up and down seasons. You know, guys get injured, this, that, and the other. But overall, the Cincinnati Bengals have their franchise player, and I'd like to think that the Cincinnati Reds have their franchise player. But right now it's coming down to the perception of both and how they both represent their teams and how the city of Cincinnati embraces both. But overall, starting real quick with Elly De La Cruz, I mean, baseball's just a weird sport because Joe Burrow, you go to the Bengals, instant contender to win a championship. Elly De La Cruz goes to the Reds. I'm terrified, at least with Joey Votto. They've made, 4 straight playoff appearances. You know, he won an MVP there. Will this Reds team ever be good enough around Elly De La Cruz for him to get to that point? Like, it almost scares me that the Reds have a talent like Elly De La Cruz because what they could do by squandering it terrifies me as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, you would draw the hate of baseball fans everywhere, very similar to what the Angels have seen with Mike Trout over the last couple of years. Everyone wants to free Mike Trout. You see it every time, you know, whether he gets hurt or he just, you know, is out of the lineup for a little bit. Everyone blames the Angels curse anyway. So, yeah, it's going to be the same thing with the Reds if you can't eventually get Elly some wins. And if you don't start, you know, being competitive here soon, I think that's going to play a hand in whether or not he re-signs as well. I mean, I think the guy wants to win at some point in his career. I think he wants to be competitive. And if you keep rolling out, you know, uncompetitive lineups for the next, you know, 4 or 5 years, however long, and we still have him, I'm a little worried about how that's going to go. So, yeah, I mean, I really do hope that the Reds are competitive with him. I have a lot of faith that they will. I still believe in, you know, this core and the way we're going, even though we talked about yesterday. There's some questions about what the core actually is. I still think there's some faith about, you know, the direction this team's going. And when you have a guy like Elly who's doing something basically every other night that's never been done before, or at least hasn't been done in the modern era, it's pretty cool to see, and you just kind of have to have faith in it, I think.
You mentioned it, but Joey Votto, like, that's a once-in-a-generation talent. I know
Wasn't 4 straight playoffs. My apologies, Reed. You wonder why you're not on the show, Reed. You correct me like that. No, but thank you for that, too. But it doesn't matter. Keep going.
You had a once-in-a-generation talent in Joey Votto. I know probably a larger portion of this fan base than I care to admit didn't think he was that. I don't think they recognized how good he was. They undervalued what he did for the team because he walked more than he got hits. That's at least the argument they made, and I disagreed with it completely. Joey Votto will go down as the best Red ever, probably in my lifetime. But Elly De La Cruz, as I'm watching him right now, he's certainly making a case that in the future he certainly could be. Joey Votto spent 17 years here, and the Reds were objectively terrible in a large majority of that time. And I think you're starting to see now the fan base is recognizing in Elly very early on what I don't think anybody really recognized in Joey Votto. We thought Joey Votto was good, but Joey Votto never reached that superstar level potential. You know, he wasn't being shown on MLB Network highlights every night, night in, night out. He wasn't on ESPN night in, night out. And it wasn't until later in his career did he start showing a personality. You're seeing the Elly personality already. You're seeing the interview with Jeff Passan yesterday where Jeff asked him, hey, Elly, who's the most exciting player in baseball? And Elly looks at him deadpan and he goes, you're looking at him. You're sitting right across from the most exciting player in baseball. He's got the confidence. He's got the swagger. He's great with fans. He's learning a different language. He's learning English for the fans. He is everything you want. He's everything you've asked for. It's what most teams are never going to get. We have a guy right now that most teams will not see anybody like this. The Milwaukee Brewers, I can't think of a player that's been anywhere close to the excitement level of Elly De La Cruz, right? And you can go a lifetime without seeing that. And we're seeing it right now immediately after we saw Joey Votto. So if I'm the Reds, I look at this and I say this is our opportunity. We lucked in, and there is a lot of luck. I'm sure there was also a lot of skill involved. I'm not doubting that. And Nick Kroll in the front office and Dick Williams that develop all these players. But at the same time, to have a player like Elly be a Cincinnati Red is incredibly lucky. We are incredibly fortunate, and you can't waste it. And that's why I think this is another reason why Reds fans are upset this year is because we have to sit here and waste a year of a generational superstar. And that's frustrating. So to answer your question, what do the Reds do? A, you extend them to the biggest deal you can extend them to. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably gonna be tough now after this year. This is a borderline MVP season. Obviously he might not finish top 2, but I think I think there's a chance he finishes top 3, maybe top 4 in MVP voting if he continues to stay hot. And yeah, I extended the longest deal possible, and I look to build on the roster around him because as of right now, I don't see a lot around him. And maybe that's at fault because of the injuries / steroids. Maybe whatever you want to say it, maybe it's bad luck. But we have a bunch of good luck in Elly De La Cruz being here, knock on wood, and being healthy. So I would look to, we talk about the time frame, the timeline of when the Reds can be good. When does that window open? I think our good friend Sir Boy's in the chat. He talks about that window. The window's right now. The window's right now, and next season, if we waste another year of Elly De La Cruz, if we come out and we say, I'm going to give our team the best chance to win by not making any moves at the deadline, you can't have that attitude. You got to go. You got to improve the roster. You got to have contingencies when we have our superstar second baseman, Matt McClain, injured. We have to have contingencies for our outfield not being good. And our outfield hasn't been good this year. It just hasn't been. Jake Fraley doesn't have power. Will Benson looks like his powers were stolen by the Monstars. TJ Friedel's been hurt, and when he's been on the field, he hasn't been good. Spencer Steer, I think, is a fine baseball player. And I don't mean to be disrespectful, but like when I think of Paul Giannis, just a utility bench bat, I think Spencer Steer is just a couple notches above that. Like I don't think Spencer Steer is carrying this team to a World Series. He's an important piece, no doubt about it. No doubt about it, Spencer Steer is important. Not only because he plays every day, but because I know what I can get with Spencer Steer. He's going to deliver big hits at certain times. He's not going to hit 300. He's not going to hit for a ton of power, but he's going to give me what I need. So you have a little bit of pieces around him where it's like, okay, but you have to go in next year with the attitude that we can't waste any more of Elly De La Cruz, especially if you're concerned about not signing Elly De La Cruz due to Boris's high demands, which they most certainly will be high after this year.
Yeah, my main worry about not re-signing Elly, it's not even whether or not they get it done, because I think the Reds are going to try everything they can to get it done. They'd be stupid not to. But you see with teams like the Nationals, they offered Juan Soto a $400 million deal, and he still said no and went somewhere else. So it's never always up to the team. Both sides have to accept it. And if Elly ever puts on another jersey, I think a lot of Reds fans will be looking around like, what is there to root for anymore? All you do your entire life is sit there with your fingers crossed that maybe someday you get a player half as good as Elly in Cincinnati that you get to watch and cheer for and be a fan of. And we finally got one of the most talented players that maybe any of us will ever watch play the game of baseball by the time we're dead.
Yep.
He's unbelievable. He's a generational talent. And if you let him walk as a small market team, what are you working towards? Who is the guy that you do sign if you don't re-sign Elly? Because what can't Elly do? He struggles at some of the routine parts of the game, and he's a top 5 player in baseball by every metric. What's going to happen when he's 24, 25 years old? He's going to be a bona fide superstar if he's not already. So at this point, it's more of just a hope and a pray than anything else, because the Reds are going to try to extend Elly, and I say that with every little tiny bit of faith I have left in this organization, because I just don't understand how you can.
Being 22 years old and having a significant chance to have a 30-70 season, it's unheard of. He's broken every record known to man. It's as long as he plays for the Reds, we have a serious chance to win because he gives you that many wins. I don't know what his WAR is this season, but he's been phenomenal. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Last year, if there was any concern, and I know I was a part of maybe a little bit of the concern, at the very beginning of this season when he had that 3-error game in Philadelphia, I said, if he's not going to make the routine plays, I'm going to be frustrated, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. Yeah, he struggles a little bit with the routine plays every once in a while, but he's still an incredibly good defender. He's a plus defender, and it's not close. So as much, and I think he had the error was given to him last night. Yeah. I don't know if that was really an error on Elly De La Cruz, but nonetheless, that's what the score gave him. So I'll sit here and take it.
No steals and an error? Huh.
Yeah. He also hit the ball real hard. I don't know if you saw that.
I made sure
someone was harassing me on Twitter.
He was all over our Twitter.
Elly has
the run still counted the same though.
That's true. That's true. Elly has a 4.0 B WAR and a 7.3 F WAR.
Unreal. So yeah, to answer your question, if we waste another year of Elly De La Cruz, I'm going to be upset. I think fans are starting to see that if they are pessimistic when it comes to the front office and ownership, which they have every right to be, and they're concerned that they're not going to be able to sign Elly. As these years pass and we don't get to the playoffs with him, it's going to be frustrating. So, yeah, this season, it appears lost. It appears like a losing season. And next year, it cannot happen again. You can't waste another year of him.
The clock's ticking.
The clock is
The longer
starting.
you go without extending him, you lose all the leverage you have. The only leverage the Reds have is service time. And you have 5 years. Trey said it last night. You have 5 years left with him on this team. And every year that goes by, he's 1 year closer to the open market where he'll get a bigger deal. He will get a bigger deal than whatever Cincinnati's offering if he hits the open market. Every single offseason, every single month that goes by that Elly isn't signed, the Reds are losing some kind of bargaining power. So they need to work on this quickly, or you need to go massively all in on this cheap deal if you plan on not extending him long term.
All right, we're going to pivot on this show because this brings me to my Joey Votto point that you buried me for. But I don't want to go into that take deep into it. It's just the fear that the Reds have with Elly brings a lot of, as great as he is, brings a lot of problems for a team like the Cincinnati Reds. Because do they have the means to handle this correctly? The Angels have the means to handle Mike Trout correctly, and they're not doing it correctly. So if the Angels can't do it with Mike Trout, that scares the hell out of me about the Reds with Elly De La Cruz. So there's a lot to unpack. We'll get into that more. I'm not afraid of the Reds being able to, I mean, again, financially with the Reds, it's always a concern, yes, but that's not my biggest concern about the future of the Reds with Elly De La Cruz. It's not what can they do to pay him, it's what do they do with him. We'll talk about that more when we come back. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Jimmy, Casey, Elliot, and Jacob with you here. I see some people in the chat saying enough with the, we won't be able to keep, Elly De La Cruz in Cincinnati. Enough with that. I definitely agree with all the concerns about the financial restraints that the Reds have, when it comes to, spending money on the team as a whole, much less going, they could potentially go all in on a player that will earn more than how much they've spent on a team over a 2 or 3 year span. That's the concern, as good as he gets. And it's like you could tell this is a fan base that can't even enjoy when good things happen, because right away we start leaning towards the, oh my God, but what's going to happen if? What's going to happen if? And that 5 year window, it sounds like a long time, but it's not. It's not, because, right now, even right now, we're looking 5 years out and still concerned about what's going to happen. I'm not so much looking at the money side of this. I'm looking at what happens if, and you guys kind of touched on it, what happens if the Reds do pay him, but they don't have anything to show for it on the field? Like, okay, you keep Elly. I don't want to be a fan of an organization, and I saw it with Joey Votto. We paid Joey Votto, and then they looked at us for the next 10 years. The organization did and said, what? We paid Joey Votto. Come to the ballpark, watch Joey Votto. Oh, you expect to win? Well, we're trying to win. We're trying to, develop. We're going to try to do what we did in the mid 2000s, where we developed the Jay Bruces and those guys. And, we're going to do that again. But you just got to be patient and wait. We don't want to be patient and wait. The careers of these guys aren't super long especially in Cincinnati, when you got to rely on a rebuild. And if that rebuild doesn't work, like the one in the mid 2010s didn't work, then you got to start all over again. And it's like, you have to show a little urgency to win now. As I've stated before, I get so tired of hearing about the future. When is the future now? Elly is the now. Elly is also the future, and you hope it's the long-term future. But if you keep operating under, we got to make sure we're good for the future and not good for the now, then the future doesn't include Elly De La Cruz. I believe it is very important to win now. You have to do everything you can to win now, which is why at the deadline, Jacob, this is where you and I disagreed on a lot. You're so obsessed with the farm system. Well, if we're more upset, if the Reds front office is spending more time looking at the farm system than the actual roster that has Elly De La Cruz, I don't think there's a world where you can check off all boxes. I don't think you could have a healthy farm system, have a World Series contending roster with the best player in baseball, Elly De La Cruz. I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think that world exists. So I feel like the Reds either need to have a plan for post-Elly, where there's a healthy farm system that I still don't think will appease fans, because you guys said it. How deflated will the fans be if all we get from Elly De La Cruz is a fun 5 year stretch where he's the most electrifying player in baseball, and then we end it with no playoff appearances, no playoff wins, and then the kick in the groin is, we can't even afford to keep him. But hey, we have a healthy farm system. I don't care about the farm system at that point. I think this is the most crucial 5-year stretch in Reds history. I don't care how hot take-ish that sounds. If they can't find a way to make this work with Elly De La Cruz, this is a big-time problem with the Cincinnati Reds, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I've never said that there's never a time where you wouldn't trade the farm system and go all in. I've just been very adamant that these last 2 trade deadlines have been very, very far from when that time comes into play for me. Last year, you can kind of pitch it a little bit more to me just because everyone was so hot and we were 10 games up at the All-Star break. I can get behind that a little bit more. But even with, revisionist history, I get that, looking back, you see 2020, but the team wasn't good enough last year. Whatever you would have bought at the deadline, and the pieces that were available at the deadline all failed, basically.
Yep.
They all failed. So I'm very glad about how the Reds handled the last 2 trade deadlines on a buying front, because I think it's important, like we've talked about up here the last couple of days, to have contingency plans. And I think a lot of our contingency plans right now are in the minor leagues. I mean, we saw Rhys come up this year and have an unbelievable 2-week stretch. Obviously, he wasn't ready yet, but he's a guy that we think can be a real part of this team in the future. So we sent him back down to AAA. Hopefully he's going to, work on some things and come back up and be a more polished prospect. You have guys like Edwin Arroyo, who we've talked about the injuries in the infield and the iffy play of Noelvi Marte. You have guys in the infield, prospects, high-level prospects that you're going to have, come up and be those contingency plans. Instead of having to go out and spend money and make trades to have major league level talent, you have those guys coming up for hopefully when you are, again, 10 games over 500 leading the Central in a year or 2. I think that's when you go all in, maybe when these guys haven't only played, 80 games, when you have more, Elly's more, established, McLean's healthy, Noelvi is already up. He wasn't even up last year at the trade deadline. So you really didn't know what you had. I think the time's coming, and if the Reds never have a buying trade deadline in the entire career of Elly De La Cruz, I will be upset. That will not be a good thing. But I think it's incredibly important as a small market team to pick and choose your battles, and picking that deadline and the players in which you buy with your farm is incredibly important for a team like the Reds.
You have to have a good farm system, and I was always a guy who didn't really care about it. I just, because it's not the team I cheer for. I don't root for the Louisville Bats. I don't cheer for Chattanooga. I cheer for the Cincinnati Reds. And when everybody was so focused on what we got in AAA, what do you got in AA, Single A, my naive mind didn't comprehend that you probably should actually pay attention to that, because that maybe turns into Elly De La Cruz. There will not be a better prospect than Elly De La Cruz. There will not be, and you're seeing it right now. But you can have prospects down there that are good enough to be with him up here in a couple years, a year or 2 years. I agree with Kinder 100% that at some point you're going to have to throw in the towel. You're going to have to throw in the towel. You go all in. You get a couple of big-name pieces, some veteran guys that can help Elly De La Cruz. But in order to do that, I have to have a core around Elly. You have to have more than Elly. I love Elly De La Cruz. But unfortunately in baseball, when you're 1 of 9, you can't carry anybody. You can't carry a team to a World Series, even though Elly De La Cruz is trying his damnedest. You can't do it. You have to have 4, 5, 6 guys that are competitive night in and night out with him. And the Reds aren't close to that right now. They're not close to it. Again, I'm not going to give up on Noelvi Marte. He's a kid. He's looked terrible. Will Benson, a guy that I thought should be starting every day coming into this year. Terrible. Outside of that, you have Jake Fraley. Jake Fraley's a platoon guy. Spencer Steer, I'll count him as one of them. I think he's towards the bottom tier of the 6 core guys that we could have here in Cincinnati, but he's certainly one of them. Outside of that, what is TJ Friedel? Haven't seen enough because he's been hurt. What is Matt McLean? Haven't seen enough because he's been hurt. CES haven't seen enough because he's been hurt. You have to build it around him, and that starts with the minor league system. You have to grow the farm. You still have to focus on it, which is why I was upset they didn't sell more at the deadline, because it didn't make sense to me. Nick Kroll's that stupid quote where he's saying, I'm going to give our team a chance to win. What a stupid quote. Stupid quote. You're not giving your team a chance to win if you sell a couple pieces and don't buy anybody. That doesn't help anybody. Who are you helping? You're helping your team win? No. So yeah, I think there's a healthy middle ground between the farm system doesn't matter, and we also need to be aggressive at deadlines, and we need to help Elly De La Cruz because he can't do it himself. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and I think Jacob was alluding to it, I was looking at some of these contracts. I was looking at some of these contracts that have been signed over the past couple of years, and Kinner's a little bit right too. It's when that contract handcuffs the Reds, and it will. I have no doubt in my mind that this contract's going to handcuff the Cincinnati Reds. You're going to have a very good farm system to have those players, those young guys that are still a part of your team that you have control of 4 or 5 years that can help Elly De La Cruz. I'm going to read some of these contracts because I'm curious what you guys think he'll get. I think Jacob was talking a little bit in the chat of what he thinks. Julio Rodriguez for the Mariners, 13 years, $210 million. Will Smith for the Dodgers, 10 years, $140. Different position, a little bit different there. Bobby Witt, Royals, 11 years, $288 million. Fernando Tatis, Padres, 14 years, $340 million. I won't read Shohei's. Manny Machado, Padres, 11 years, $350 million. Devers, Red Sox, 11 years, $330. Xander Bogaerts, 11 years, $280. Trey Turner, 11 years, $300. What do you think Elly is worth? What do you think he's going to get?
I think he's worth, and I know fans say this all the time, I think he's worth whatever he wants. He's worth literally whatever he wants. He means so much to this city. I understand that you're not going to be able to resign a bunch of other people on the team. A lot of that quote-unquote core is going to leave as well if you extend Elly. That's just the reality of the situation. And that goes back to why I think the farm system is so important. If we're going to project them to re-sign Elly, you're just not going to be able to spend a whole lot of other money. So, but yeah, I think he's going to fall somewhere in that, like, Tatis Bogaerts range. Tatis was 14 for 340. Bogaerts was 11 for 280. I think he's going to be right in that like 12 for over 300 area if the Reds are able to get it done. I don't really know how incentivized he is to sign a massive long-term deal. I could see it being more of maybe a 7-year deal,
Really?
like big money, just so he can get back on the market and get another deal.
Yeah.
So just because he is so young, at the end of a decade-long deal, he'd still only be 36.
He's 22 now.
And we have him for 4 more years in a 10-year deal. Yeah, so he'd be 36 at the end of the deal. You'd still be able to get probably a year or 2 deal on a contender or something like that at the end of that. So I don't know what the incentive necessarily is for him to sign a super long-term deal. I think the Reds' best chance is probably load up on a deal like 10 years or less.
But here's what I want from him, and this is where I know I'll separate from you two. I believe every star player on a team has a responsibility to hold their franchise accountable as far as not just paying me what I'm worth, but what are you doing to help me win? This is where I lost my connection with Joey Votto. This is where Elliot and I disagree on a lot of stuff. Like, I felt like, and again, am I privy to conversations behind the scenes? No. Maybe Votto did have these talks. I don't know. I'm used to covering leagues like the NFL and the NBA where the athletes are a little bit more outspoken as far as what they demand from their organizations. What I don't want to have happen is have what happened to Elly, what happened to Votto. Votto gets paid, and then he's just the star player of a team that's just walking in place. Sometimes backwards, but never forward. Like, we could talk about the greatness of Elly all we want, but again, Votto grew stale with me, not Votto himself, but the aura of Votto, because I got tired of that being the draw to go to the ballpark as a Reds fan. Like, I want to go watch a team that's contending. I want to go support a team that looks like they are doing everything in their power to contend for the division, to contend to win a World Series. And once Votto got paid, I never sensed that the Reds were in position to do that. They were delayed on moving pieces to start a rebuild because they wanted those pieces in place so that the Reds would look good when the All-Star game came to Cincinnati, with that Jay Bruce and Brandon Phillips and all those guys. Like the organization for that stretch of Votto ticked me off to the point where it's like, hey, we have Votto. That's all that matters. We're going to try and rebuild, and we're going to try and win with the farm system, but if that doesn't work out, we still have Votto. What I want from Elly De La Cruz is to do something that Votto didn't do, in my opinion, which is look at the front office and say, you want me, you got to pay me, but you also got to do stuff to win. I'm not going to sign in Cincinnati for 10 years and just watch you, we got these great prospects that we're hoping pan out. I need you to do stuff that is going to make me feel like we're going to be a contender as well. Because I think it's foolish of any Reds fan to think that it's just money-based. Because I have a hard time believing that Elly is content with just taking a big deal and just not contending for anything for a 10-year stretch. And that's where I felt Votto struggled, in my opinion, or failed, in my opinion. And I talked to multiple reporters who will never go on record of saying this because you might lose a little access. Well, can't lose what you don't have. I don't have access, so who cares? I always felt Joey Votto loved Cincinnati, never wanted to get out of Cincinnati, not because the Skyline Chili is great or because the people are great. It's because you're not expected to win. You're just expected to be Joey Votto. I just need you to be the face of a franchise, distract the fans from the fact that, well, we're not going to spend any money on putting talent around you, and just be Joey Votto. So we need you to go do some TikTok dances. Be great on TikTok. Be great on the old Twitter. Interact with people. Do what you got to do. I want Elly to look at the Castellinis, and I want him to say, well, I know you're going to pay me. That's great. I can get my money anywhere, but I can also go somewhere where I can get my money and win too. I believe the Reds will do whatever they can to give him the money that he wants, but will they do whatever they can to win? That's my concern. As a Reds fan, I don't just want them to pay him. I want them to pay him and win with him. I don't want another Joey Votto stretch in Cincinnati. I don't want to have a face of the franchise that they just do status quo and just every year it's, well, I wonder when the Votto bobblehead or when the Elly bobblehead game is going to be. I don't want to do that again. So it's not just me wanting them to pay him and keep him. I want them to do things to continuously try to win with him. And they did not do that with Votto. And I put blame on Votto because I don't think that he put the pressure back on the organization. I don't think Joey Votto once said, I want out of here. You guys aren't trying to win. Send me somewhere where I can keep my money and contend. And I never got that vibe from Joey Votto. I didn't. It would drive me nuts when he would say that there's no other place I'd rather be than right here. While fans fell for that propaganda BS of, oh man, that's so great, he loves us. I'm like, no. If there's anyone that the front office might listen to, it might be you. If there's anyone that the front office might say, well, damn, maybe we should spend some money to try to win because our star player wants out, and man, that would be bad for the fans. They would really get on us then. But no, we bailed him out. Oh, we fell for the Joey Votto propaganda. I don't care. I do not care. Elly De La Cruz has a responsibility, in my opinion, as this continues, to look at that front office and say, okay, cool, I love that number that's on that check, but what are we going to do about these guys' checks? What are we going to do about these guys that you're bringing in? I need to know that we're going to contend because I'm not going to stay in Cincinnati for 15 straight years and not contend for a damn thing, all because I'm being told the future, the future, the future. When is the future now? That's all I care about, and I believe Elly has that responsibility. I know you didn't like that take about Joey Votto the last time I gave it. I wasn't trying to bury Votto per se, but at the same time, I do believe he had a responsibility to hold the front office accountable the same way that stars in other sports do. I know that's not how baseball operates, but that's how I want it to operate, and that's how I'm going to frame my opinion as far as that's concerned.
We got to go to a break. I want to walk out that take next segment.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, we'll come right back again off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Don't go anywhere. All right, we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We have some NFL stuff we'll get into coming up around the corner. Want to finish up this conversation. I'm not trying to set up a big debate or a big argument, but real quick, I'll summarize it quick and then feed it to Elliot just on the radio side so people know where we're picking up here. I'm very nervous about the future of the Cincinnati Reds when it comes to Elly De La Cruz. So many people are worried about whether they can afford to pay him or not. That's great. The Reds, if they're desperate enough, they're going to pay him. I care about what they do once they pay him. Are they going to, once they pay him, do what they did with Joey Votto, where they gave him the money and then said, all right, well, hopefully the prospects coming up through the system can be good enough we can win with. Because we're poor. We don't have any money. And if we thought the organization went broke after paying Votto, what do you think they're going to do when it's a big-time contract for Elly De La Cruz? I want Elly in Cincy for a long, long time. But I don't want Elly in Cincy for a long, long time of being a face of a, bottom feeder franchise. I want Elly. I think Elly has a responsibility to look at that front office and say, okay, cool, I know you're going to give me my money, but are you going to give me a team to contend with? Because if not, I can get my money from any team in Major League Baseball. I don't need the money. It's not like you're the only team that can offer me money. I can get my money anywhere. I need to go somewhere where I can make my money and contend as well. People say, well, that everyone goes to the Dodgers because they have the money. People go to the Dodgers because they can have their money and contend. I think Elly can get his money in Cincinnati. I don't know if he can contend, and I think his responsibility is to look at the front office and say, what are you going to do? He needs to put pressure on them. And as I stated, Votto didn't do that. And I thought that was a big-time failure on his part, and that's why I got frustrated with him. I'm hoping Elly doesn't do the same thing.
I'm glad you didn't bring up TikTok in that take, though. I am glad you didn't mention that one. A couple things. Number one, sports, players. The number one thing for every athlete now, you're seeing it in college now, I want to get paid. It's about me. I want to get paid. And that's not a bad thing to be an advocate for yourself. It's not a bad thing to want as much money for yourself as possible and hell with anybody else. That's what it is. So when somebody offers you a big contract, you accept it. There's no other strings attached because you're paying me. And I understand it. We aren't the only ones in the world that know that in baseball, and when it's a small market, it's a big market league, and you're a small market team, that it's probably going to be difficult to extend everybody when they just paid you $200 million. They know that. The players know it. The front office knows it. The fans know it. Everybody knows it. So when I'm Joey Votto and somebody's offering me with a $200 million contract to stay in the city that I've lived in for a couple years, to be with the fans that I like, to a place that I've called my home, a large sum of money, my first reaction to that isn't going to be, well, you better extend everybody else. It's going to be thank you. It's going to be thank you very much, sir. I am now a $200 millionaire because of you. And whatever happens after that, to be quite honest, I don't care. And maybe that's the wrong attitude, but that's how it is. That's the reality of the situation. If Trace Fowler tomorrow came to me and said, hey, Elliot, I'm going to give you a $1 million 5-year extension, I'm not going to say, hey, you better go pay Jacob and Casey.
No, come on.
I'm not going to do it because he just offered me $1 million.
Come on, dude.
And you guys wouldn't either. So it's just one of those things where I don't know what you want this guy to do. The same thing with Elly De La Cruz. If they're going to offer him 11 years, $340, 14 years, $400, whatever they offer him, his first response, I promise you, will not be, you got to go now sign Matt McClain. You got to go now sign TJ Friedel, Spencer Steer, Will Beck. You got to go sign the rest of them. Because I'm not going to sign your major contract unless you pay every one of my teammates like it's some sort of charity. And I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm saying that's essentially what you'd be arguing is I'm a team guy. I'm a team-first guy. I'm a rah-rah guy. And I want these guys to know I've got their back, even though I'm about to sign for $390 million. I want them to get their portion of the change too. There isn't that portion of the change to go around once that contract is out there. And Joey Votto, once you sign the contract, you can't go in 5 years later and say, you know what, I don't want you. I want to be traded.
But he can.
I'm going to leave. I'm going to protest. You signed the contract.
Right.
But he can. He has a no trade clause, which means he technically can go in there and say, get me out of here. Here's the teams I want to go to.
If he did that, that would be disgusting and terrible.
But that's what athletes in all. Oh, when have we become goody-goody about
I hated
contracts?
Trey Hendrickson for demanding a trade when he signed a contract a year ago.
But that's just how sports operate. But the one thing about those athletes, I appreciate, they want to win. If it's all money based, I'm not going to sit there and lose sleep over that. I'm going to be irritated with that. But when a guy people say, oh, no one wants to go to Cleveland. Well, Cleveland will pay you a lot of money. Well, they're not going to go there. They're not going to win anything. We say that all the time about teams, about players. But Jimmy.
I think I see where you're coming from because it becomes a legit concern when there are teams like the Dodgers and the Yankees who will offer Elly a similar contract, and those are teams that will go out and sign players and be able to promise Elly, we're going to surround you with these guys to win. And so I understand where you're coming from on that front, especially with the Dodgers, whose shortstop right now is, he's hurt, but Mookie Betts, who was a former World Series champion in right field. So they could come to Elly and say, hey, we want you to play shortstop for us. We'll offer you the same, if not more, than whatever the Reds are offering you. And that's definitely going to be a draw for Elly because he can get all this money, live in L.A., play for a winning team. And I don't worry that the Reds are going to offer Elly the money. I think it's just, I understand what you're saying. They need to kind of make it known to him that they're going to commit to surrounding him with winning players. It's because in baseball, teams can just pay to win. And
if Elly wants the best chance to win, he should not sign in Cincinnati.
Right, 100%.
Period. Done. If the main thing on his docket is that he wants to win a World Series, he is going somewhere else.
But don't you want that competitive drive in your athletes, though?
I hope that's not what he wants, because if that's the one thing he wants, he's never playing for the Reds after this contract.
And that's my issue with this whole argument is if every athlete had that mentality, the Reds wouldn't exist.
Right.
Nobody would sign with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Nobody would sign with the Cleveland Guardians, the Cincinnati Reds, the Kansas City Royals, the Minnesota Twins. You'd eliminate half your league because they only want to win and they only want to get paid a lot of money, and that only happens when you're in Los Angeles or New York.
well, then I won't like Elly De La Cruz if he doesn't care about winning. I don't like any athlete that doesn't care about winning.
But that's where I disagree.
Yeah.
You can care about winning, and while also not expecting a small market team to hand out $200 million contracts like they're candy.
I watch the NBA and the NFL, guys who get their money and want out because they're tired of not winning. I respect the hell out of those guys. Those guys are they have that killer competitive drive. As a fan, I want my team to win, and I want my athletes to do everything that they can to win. The fact that we are sitting here actually defending the mindset that, well, I'm going to support a guy that just wants paid and doesn't want to win, that just sounds so crazy to me. That just sounds absolutely insane. Casey?
I mean, I don't disagree with your concept of, like, I want my players to have a winning mentality. I want Elly De La Cruz to say to the front office, like, I want to win a World Series with you guys. Help me, right? I want that to happen. But I'm not blaming Elly De La Cruz for the position that the small market franchise that the Reds are in. Like, the only way that it's going to work, and we've seen the recipe already, it's going to be with developing their players. And maybe the issue isn't necessarily about payment, but about being aggressive, trade deadlines and things like that, and selling those players so then you can build a better tomorrow. I mean, that's the only way that they can go about this. And you're just not going to be able to convince me that it's on Elly De La Cruz to convince the front office to spend the money that they don't have, right? Like, they just can't go out and get Mookie Betts or Shohei or whoever they want. Once they sign Elly, that's their guy. They got to find other ways to get B-level players to fill in the rest of the spots on the franchise and build it up that way. Build up the floor, right? That's my thoughts on this. I mean, I just can't blame Elly for the future of this franchise.
If he signs a $350 million contract here, he understands when that pen hits paper that there's not going to be big contracts around him.
Everybody knows that.
Right.
Everybody. That's very clear to everyone.
Then why do we want the Reds to sign him then?
Because I think he's one of the best players I've ever seen.
So
play
we just
baseball.
want to go to the ballpark to watch a good player, not watch
Yes.
a winning team.
I'm completely fine with that. And I
I'm
think
not-
Elly gives the team the best chance to win. Elly gives the team the best chance to win. What they did with
but
Joey
you're not-
Votto
you're
is
not-
fine with me.
You're not fine with losing.
His criteria for a losing team, I'm fine with. Paying Elly and putting prospects around him that you think give a team a chance to win. What he's
Look
calling
how miserable
losing
we are
baseball,
with this team, though. Like this would be this all the time. Like, this would be us all the time talking about this team.
I think
Elly's
Elly
great,
with supplemental
2 home
pieces around him at 26 is a team that's good enough to win. That's the difference. Is you think it requires other big contracts to win.
No, it's about making the moves to win. And I don't want to hear my general manager at the deadline saying, well, we didn't want to blow up this team and ruin their chances of the second half when you didn't do a damn thing to help this team at all in the second half. Like, and that's an isolated thing. Like, I think one isolated trade deadline wouldn't piss him off, but I think it's when you start looking at the totality of it. When Votto looks back at his time there, he's going to look back and say, what the hell did they do to try to contend while I was there? Like, and I think that should matter. That matters in the NBA. If Joe Burrow, if the Cincinnati Bengals, by the way, just let Jamar go, and they don't go sign any key pieces in free agency or like expensive, like legitimate talent, we're just going to keep drafting you weapons. We'll just keep. Eventually, Joe Burrow, if he feels he can't win in Cincinnati, he's going to get out of there, right? Like, I don't care how much money they throw, because Joe Burrow can get his money anywhere. Like, that's why I respect NFL and NBA players, because of that right there. Like, yes, they want their money, and they're going to be selfish when they need to. But at the same time, Jamar Chase, I promise, Joe Burrow leaves Cincinnati and he's not there. Jamar Chase doesn't just want to be the highest paid wide receiver in football and not contend in Cincinnati. You saw the temper tantrums he was throwing the first month of last season when they couldn't get him the football and they weren't winning games. All this, it's a completely different mindset. I like that competitive drive in my athletes, and baseball drives me nuts with that. I'm just hoping Elly's different from my perspective.
I mean, I don't see how you can put blame on Elly on this. This is a huge front office issue. It's not on Elly to try to convince the GM to go spend money. I mean, if they don't have the money, they're not going to spend it, and if they do have the money, they'll spend it. Like, that's the way I look at it, and I feel like the best way for them to win is to do what Jacob says, build up your farm system, get a bunch of prospects, because we just are a small market team. That's just the nature of the beast. And blaming Elly on any of this just seems very strange to me. Blaming Votto for any of that is very strange to me.
You don't think Votto could have made a difference going to that front office?
Like, what do you want him to do? Say spend more money in the money they don't have? Like,
but like LeBron, it's not his job to be a GM, but he cares about putting the pieces in place to be a
Baseball doesn't have a salary
contender,
cap. It's a completely different thing.
which is all the more reason why you should be in there throwing around your weight.
But we don't have the money to throw around our weight.
Then the Reds suck ass.
Correct, and that's the reality of being a Reds fan. You
then
can't compete contractually.
I hate living in Ohio. Go Guardians. At least when they don't spend money, they find ways to win. I mean, my God, what are we doing? You're not wrong from the you're building your whole opinion based on the framework of how you know the team's going to operate. But my thinking is when you have a player, a generational player, if there was ever a player that could bully them into doing things different, it is Elly De La Cruz. When you ask about, I'm going to go to you in a second. Sorry, my bad. When you asked about why is that Elly's job, it's not necessarily his job, but he has the influence. Athletes have more influence than ever before. Elly can go in there. If he said, I will sign with you if I know you're going to put pieces around me to contend, and then they don't, and then he releases that to the media, now the Reds look like the biggest jokes in the world. The athletes have that type of power. That's why I appreciated Castellanos when he was burying the Reds organization, saying that the fans. Castellanos did more to defend us than Votto ever did, and it's true. Castellanos called out the front office for not caring about winning. What did Votto do? TikTok. I mean, come on. Like, it is what it is. Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean,
employees can't call out their bosses.
Votto played here for 10 years without a social media presence as well.
That's how he makes money.
Right.
I don't know. Like, it's.
The NBA players do it, NFL players do it because they have leverage.
If Joey Votto called out the front office and demanded a trade after signing a 10-year contract with a no-trade clause, the city would hate him.
No, I don't think they would.
Oh, I know they
Anyone would.
Why?
Any fan
Why
of the
would
Reds
you- why
should
would
hate
you
him for doing that.
But I would understand. I'd be like, yeah, I don't blame you, dude. The front office stinks. What are they doing? Just saying. Jimmy?
yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating because people know that the LA and the Yankees and the Mets and those big market teams are going to come knocking on the door, and I feel like people are kind of, I've seen it a lot in the chat. They say, oh, that's dumb. They haven't won a World Series. They just win a lot of games in the regular season. Well, there's something to be said for going and joining a team that has an Aaron Judge, a Juan Soto, or a Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. It's just the reality of like being a professional athlete. At the end of the day, I know he's going to want to get his money, but if he's getting a similar contract offer, if not more, from those bigger market teams, why would he stay here?
That's why the Reds have to offer him while they still have control.
I totally agree.
That's the only thing you
to.
have over those teams is getting him more money in these next 5 years where he's making pennies.
And
that's the Reds' only chance they have.
And mind you, I want him to stay here. I don't want it to turn into another insane super team.
Every small market fan should be rooting for Elly to stay.
Absolutely. I really want him to stay. I'm getting sick of the big market teams just spending boatloads of money, and the Shohei contract this offseason was annoying. Like that, as a baseball fan, that's one of
right after bringing in the best pitcher on the market.
Right, it's one of the most annoying contracts I've ever seen. And I'm not saying this stuff about LA and all. Oh, he said LA is my city, and I'm just saying that it is a realistic concern that with the guys that the Dodgers have. Mookie Betts is their shortstop. He's one of the best players in baseball. All they got to do is move him back out to right field because that's where he won a World Series. He was an amazing right fielder, and they can just say, Elly, look, you can play shortstop for the LA Dodgers, and we'll give you 12 years, $35-40 million a year, and you can come play shortstop for the Dodgers.
We're going to talk.
What are you going to do?
I do have one question for you guys, just really quickly about Shohei Ohtani's deal. We all know the framework of it, $2 million for like the next 10 years, and then after that it's 60 plus. Is there any chance at all that if Elly De La Cruz did care about winning, that we could get a framework very similar to that, and the Reds could go spend money?
I don't.
Is that possible at all?
I think that's a once in a lifetime, once ever contract framework.
And, of course, it's LA that gets the break.
Right.
That's what, like, I'm like, Shohei could have given that break to a small team, market team.
Yeah.
And, like, doing that for LA was just like, what do we do?
There's also another wrinkle with Elly's career earnings where he owes a percentage of his career earnings to a scouting company that found him in the Dominican. So
I do know
like
that.
an agency.
An agency
before
that,
the agent.
right. So I don't
He's
I
embedded
don't
with
think
that
he would have
invoice.
incentive to defer if he already owes money to other people. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I was just curious because that feels like that would be the only way the Reds could be able to do more in free agency besides.
Yeah, that would change everything.
And I just like those situations are so rare. I just don't see how. Like, I don't know. And that you're asking so much of Elly as well to make that deal, like you said. I don't know. It feels weird to be blaming Elly for this.
Yeah, Shohei technically owns 1/5 of the Dodgers because $700 million is 1/5 of the Dodgers' evaluation. So.
By the way, I'm not blaming him for anything. He hasn't done anything yet.
It's insane.
He hasn't done anything yet.
You will be blaming him.
No, I don't think blaming is what I'm saying. I think
you said the word blame.
No, I blame Votto. I blame Votto.
We got to
Elly hasn't
gotta
done
go to
anything
break.
yet. Votto had a responsibility to hold his team accountable. He didn't. He made TikToks. That's all he cared about. Being funny on TikTok, putting on his
He was
little
on
kilt.
TikTok for a year and a half.
Yeah.
What else?
When the team
He got
was
bored
trash.
because there was no games to win. So, yeah. Losing mentality. Off the bench.
Votto should have given his contract to Castellini so he could have had that money back, and then that guy spends money on the team.
Well, you know what? I blame Angel Reese. We'll be right back. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Oh yeah, that's right. I keep forgetting. We get in such a groove there that I just forgot.
These are kind of close to relatively being on time.
Yeah.
We're good. Like his all-time down perfect.
Well, the ads are supposed to be at 11. Casey dropped that bag.
Yeah, but we started 2 minutes late today.
So we're only 6 minutes late?
Yeah.
Did we start 2 minutes late?
We did start 2 minutes late.
Oh well, it's fine. Let's do some.
This is my
ads.
favorite part of the show.
This is mine.
Oh,
as
my
well.
favorite part of the show.
That's right, Jimbo.
Look at this, an empty bottle of water, Pawnee, because I already finished it this morning.
Grab those other two.
Healthy alkaline water, the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. Healthy alkaline water, pH level of 8. The only ingredient in this water is water. How about that? What do you like about the Pawnee water?
For me, it's the smoothness.
Yeah.
When you take a gulp of Pawnee water and it goes right down the gullet, it's nice and smooth. There's no rocks or anything crazy in there. It's just.
Is that a common problem you have? Rocks in your water?
Yeah, with Aquafina. So whenever you're just drinking a Pawnee and you're guzzling it down, it's just so smooth. It's nice on the throat.
My favorite part is the second ingredient on that bottle. Can you tell me what the second ingredient on that bottle is?
There is none.
Oh my gosh! It's just water.
It's just water.
That's crazy.
Incredible.
Jimmy, what do you like about the water?
The filtration. What is it called?
The limestone?
Limestone
Oh,
filtration.
What is it called?
You've been here for what?
I know, I
3
forgot.
months?
Yeah.
It's okay.
I almost said
natural limestone
That's okay.
filtration.
I almost said alkaline filtration, so.
Well, it is a healthy alkaline water.
Right.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Kenner, what do you like about the Pawnee water?
I drink it every day. Look.
Look at
Look
that.
at that.
Apparently, I don't like
Take
it
a
as much
sip.
as you because I have a lot of water. Still left in it, but I'll chug it.
Chug
I'll
it. Chug the whole thing.
Chug
Like
it.
Elliot-
Let's go.
Chug it.
We're like Elliot at the bar last night. Just back to you.
Yeah, chocolate water.
All right. Moving on. Encore Technologies. The Bengals/Reds/FC, all the great Cincinnati teams around here. Report is proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, we deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, we help businesses enhance efficiency and
Productivity.
Oh my god.
I threw him off. I threw him off with the Pawnee question. I threw him off.
No, it's okay.
That's right, Jimbo.
You
It's all right,
disgust
Jimbo.
me.
Sorry.
Visit
Now I have to sit here in visible disgust
Encore.tech,
the rest of the show.
where your path to innovation begins here. And let me tell you about our Game Time sponsor. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices. Guaranteed. And of course, as always,
GAMETIME.com. That's GameTime.com.
that's GameTime.com.
Ooh, that was good spelling.
They have some
can do
Dragons
that. That was
tickets
good.
going on
I
right
can't do it.
now. Preseason tickets for the Bengals game are sitting at $12. The Royals.
Who's that game against? Preseason game?
Bucks. The
Bucks.
Buccaneers.
Starters for the first possession or two,
There we
maybe
go.
first quarter.
There we go.
Reds tickets for next week.
Yep. Royals.
$14.
Yeah.
Wow, expensive.
5, 6.
That is
there's-
expensive.
There's some good prices here. The Doobie Brothers are at Riverbend.
Well, celebrate legal recreational marijuana
Yeah.
day with the Doobie Brothers.
Smoking doobie with my brothers.
Get rid of that cotton off a little Pawnee water.
Yeah, so go ahead and check them out. There's lots of good deals, lots of great events and venues to go check out with Game Time. Again, thank you to Game Time. Other housekeeping items, notes.
Let's keep
Yeah,
that
but-
house. I said, let's keep that house.
Nah, no other notes. Everybody have a good Tuesday.
Yeah, good Tuesday. And if you're enjoying your Tuesday right now, enjoying the show, hit that like button.
If you're not enjoying the show, toss it a like.
Toss it a like.
Either way,
If
Either
you're like
way.
Brian and you hate the show, but you tune in every day, just give it a quick little
we
like.
appreciate you just the same.
That's right. All right.
Back to everyone's favorite host.
Yep.
Silence.
Well, it obviously wasn't you.
I'll give it a like. Look, just give it a like. You know?
All right.
I see my guy Everett has a problem with me again. He's always like,
I don't think it's again. I think it's more of
No,
a
I think
just
it's
consistent
Consistent issue, yeah.
Again implies that he stopped having a problem with you.
where does he work? Is he work like Taco Bell or something? I don't tell him how to make. I don't tell him how to make chalupas, but he's always telling me how to do my.
I
job.
don't want to tell him where he works because he'll just make fun of that too.
Yeah.
Tell me now.
No,
Tell
I'm
me.
not.
I'll get Reed back in here real quick. All right, we ready to go back?
I'm ready to go back.
Yep.
Are we ready?
I'm
So we
ready.
got-
Let's do 5 seconds silence real quick.
All right, and we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. In the chat, I see Everett Henry sends in. I'm still waiting to hear of what an actual example of any other major leaguer doing what Kinner is shaming Votto for not doing. This is what y'all can't seem to comprehend, and it's not a me problem; it's a you problem. This is simply using a player from a team that we cover to, have an opinion on. It's fine. You want me to talk about other players? I could talk about other players who don't do the same thing, and I'll have the same opinion about them. Will that make you feel better? Will you hold your little blankie and sleep better tonight? All right? Will you go to bed without crying tonight? I mean, what do you want me to do? Everything I say you seem to have a problem with, so I'll have an answer for everything. That's totally fine. The bottom line is, and again, you don't have to agree with me. Absolutely not. These guys don't agree with me, and that's totally fine. But like I said, and it's weird. The sports are different, though. The athletes are, they're perceived completely different. Like in the NBA, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, they all take less money to go form a team in Miami, and they're the most selfish people in the world, but they all took less money to go play somewhere, right? Like, it's wild. Kevin Durant gives 9 years to the Oklahoma City Thunder before demanding a trade because of what I'm talking about here. They'd gone to the finals, and what did they do when they went to the finals? He loved Scott Brooks. That was his guy. He said that was the coach he wanted to play for. They fired Scott Brooks. All right, they moved on from Ibaka. They had moved on from, obviously James Harden. They had moved on, like the team the core that got into the finals. They took those pieces away. They took the coach away, and there's Kevin Durant 9 years in, and he's like, "Forget it, I'm out of here." Selfish. No, he was tired of winning games, but not winning the games that matter. So he goes to the Golden State Warriors. Oh, he's chasing rings because he wants to win a championship. I want my athletes to want to win championships. LeBron gave Cleveland 7 years. 7 years in Cleveland. He signed his rookie contract, then he signed the extension. He gave him 7 years. They gave him 75,000-year-old Shaquille O'Neal, Antoine Jameson, Ben frickin' Wallace. They gave him nobody. Larry Hughes. That's not exactly Scottie Pippen. So he leaves. Selfish. All he cares about is money. He gave him 7 years to prove that they could put a contender around him. And every time they'd have a good playoff team or a good finals team, they'd take pieces away. They would never go fully in and getting him that true number 2 player. I didn't blame him one bit. You look at Donovan Mitchell with the Cleveland Cavaliers right now. All right? If he had chosen the Knicks over the Cavs, depending on what the Cavs did this past year, I wouldn't have blamed him one bit. But Donovan Mitchell sat back and said, I'm going to keep an eye on what's going on with Cleveland. If I feel like I can win here, I'll stay here. And guess what? The Cavs did things. They made moves to put a contender out on the floor, and he stayed. In Cleveland, no one wants to go to Cleveland, and he chose to stay in Cleveland. Athletes want to win. Well, at least the athletes I like, as far as I'm concerned, and the sports I like, As far as I'm concerned, we're going to talk about the Brandon Ayuk deal coming up in a moment. It's between the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. According to the latest report, he's stuck on which team to choose right now because the Patriots are offering him more money. The Browns are offering him less money, but he feels he can win in Cleveland. So he's stuck on which one he wants to pick. Win now in Cleveland, still get a lot of money, or get more money in New England and not win right away. Athletes want to win. And that's what I want my athletes in Major League Baseball to do at the end of the day. And by the way, I'm tired of hearing about small market problem. It's an ownership problem. Because if an owner with actual money comes in to buy the Cincinnati Reds, it's no longer a small market team. It's an ownership problem. That's all it is. And that's it. And it's just weird to me to have athletes who are content with losing. That's all. And you can't tell me that Votto, never demanding a trade, never once being frustrated with front office decisions, none of that. You mean to tell, like, where's that competitive spirit? Where's that competitive drive? I didn't like that. I didn't care for that. I want baseball athletes to be different. If we want to reframe my take, my whole take will be reframed to, I wish baseball players thought like other athletes in other sports. There. If I reframe it that way, will that make you feel better? I have no idea. Probably not, because it's coming out of my mouth. But it is what it is, as far as I'm concerned.
I think James Harden trading around the league, I think that makes him a bad guy. I think he's a joke for that. I think Kyrie Irving getting traded around the league, I think that's bad. That's bad.
KD blowing a 3-1 lead and going to the team that beats him, bad move.
Bad. Listen, I'm and by the way, those examples are like if you were there for LeBron and KD, if they're there for 9 years and their contract runs out, that's a different thing. No?
You're right. I'll give you that.
Is that not different?
I will give you.
If you sign a contract and you let it run out and you leave, I have no issue with that.
But the no trade clause basically is you picking where you want
Why
to go.
would anybody who take $100 million leave their home?
But, like, you should – I don't get why you guys don't want this either. If the athlete is going to the front office – like we say all the time, the Reds are cheap. They don't do this. They don't do that. They won't spend here. They won't go all in here. But then when an athlete gets tired of it and says, because they won't do that, I want out, we're going to get mad at them for doing and thinking the same thing that we are?
If they signed a long-term contract.
Oh, stop with the nerdy contract
But
stuff.
you can
Who cares?
sign a
Why do you
5-year
care
deal.
about the contract?
Deal.
If you sign a 10-year deal, I expect you to stay on the team for 10 years. If you don't
But,
want
like-
to stay there for 10 years, sign a 5-year deal.
If you really mad at the Reds, sign a 1-year deal.
Right.
If you want to prove it to the Reds, sign 1 year.
But you want that long-term security, and you would like
Sure.
to think that, yeah. But you're
Then
going
you
to
have
get
to
that.
give up some things for that.
Winning?
Correct.
Winning? You're giving up winning?
When you sign someone to a $300 million contract, you can't sign a bunch of other players. Unless you are the Padres, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets.
So then my problem starts initially. Then technically my take is if Elly De La Cruz signs with the Reds, he doesn't want to win?
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Kinda.
If you want him to
That's what you're
prioritize winning,
saying.
he should not sign with the Reds. That is 100% your take.
If he wants his best chance to win a championship,
It's
he
not
should
in Cincinnati.
He should not be a Cincinnati Red.
This is a sad, pathetic fan base.
Well, that's
We
just
are- reality of baseball.
We are all
That's not
sad.
that's not just the Reds.
We are all
That's-
pathetically
that's
sad.
If Bobby Witt cared about winning, he would not have inked a deal with the Royals. If Julio Rodriguez cared about winning, he would not have inked a deal with the Mariners. They would have went to the Dodgers or the Yankees or someone that can give 4 other $300 million deals to put other All-Stars around.
No wonder baseball stinks.
Well, yeah.
The real issue is baseball needs a salary cap or a salary
Correct.
floor.
Correct.
And then
Now
you
we're
can
on the same
compete.
side there. What,
Yeah.
Jimmy?
Well, that's what I was trying to say earlier is like, yeah, the Reds need to kind of commit to winning when they're kind of trying to give Elly this deal, but it's always going to be a concern until he signs the deal. It's always going to be a concern that someone else is going to come swoop in and who actually can commit to winning and commit to a World Series. So that's why I think it's frustrating when people are like, oh, well, the Dodgers and Yankees haven't won anything in the last 10 years, or the Dodgers only won the COVID World Series, but it's like they still win 100 games a year. So if he does care about winning, he's probably not going to sign here.
All right. Off the bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Next topic.
Well, it's just like I think you're like we're not okay with losing. I don't want.
But you just accepted it.
I haven't accepted losing. I've accepted the situation that I'm currently
We just
in.
have different definitions of what trying to win is.
Which is that our ownership group, who I have spoken out against every chance I can, I think they've done an objectively terrible job, and they've led the Cincinnati Reds down a terrible path over their tenure as the ownership group of the Cincinnati Reds, the head owners, or the whatever you want to call them, the bosses in charge of the ownership group, the Castellinis. They have failed. They have failed. In every aspect you can fail, they have failed. They have not brought winning seasons. They have not advanced in the postseason. They've done nothing. The only thing they have done is sign Joey Votto for a 10-year deal, which is objectively a good thing. That's the only good thing they've done. and the Reds Community Fund, I guess.
That's right.
Outside of that, they've done nothing. So I don't blame Joey Votto. I blame the Castellinis. I blame the ownership group who is insistent on losing. That's who I'm upset with. I'm not upset with David Bell. I'm not upset with Santiago Espinal. I'm upset with the ownership group that continues to lose. I sit year after year with every season that goes by with another losing season. They've won, I think they've had 7 winning seasons since 1995. So yeah, I don't fault players for wanting to come here, sign a secure deal, build a home, have a family, live in a city that's great. I don't fault them for that. And if winning comes second to that, to having a family, having a home, having a secure job, having $200 million, then it comes second. I guess that's what you're saying. And if that's the case, that's fine. The MLB is not like the NFL. It is not like the NBA. It is a completely different universe.
That's why it stinks.
And it just doesn't work the way that you want it to. And I wish it worked that way too, but it doesn't. So we can't just sit here and
we
complain
can.
about it.
Then if that's the case, we can't have opinions on the Reds because that's just how they are.
Well, the Reds stink, so I don't know what else you want me to say.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm broken on the Reds. You're talking to the wrong Reds fan.
Being a small market team in the MLB is just it's almost impossible.
There's 22 franchises.
It's a hellish existence.
There's 22
And
franchises that legit
And you
probably
get the
don't
facade
have
of competing every now and then, like the Diamondbacks last year. Every champion in the last 10 years has had a top 5 salary.
You have one stretch of time like the Tigers had from 2010 to 2014 where they spent a bunch of money and then they fire their GM and their owners passes away and back down to the bottom.
Look,
and I think you pay Elly this contract, which he deserves, and you have to get done. But then there's always a chance because you're a small market team that Elly's middle infield pair is going to be Santiago Espinal. So that's just something that kind of I think Elly just has to accept if he's going to sign here.
Yeah, and again, I'm a fan, so I'm going to have a fan opinion. So I don't care about these players' families. I don't care about them needing to get every dollar that they have coming to them. Look, like this, like you guys do this like after school special, but they have families to feed. Oh, I'm sure even if they take a mid-level MLB salary, I hope they can keep their electricity on. I mean, poor guys. The bottom line is from a fan perspective, I just want my athletes to want to win because I want my team to win. That's where we connect. We don't connect. We don't text each other and ask how we're doing. You know, when I get a promotion at work, I don't get a text from Elly De La Cruz or Joe Burrow or Deshaun Watson or whoever. I don't care about these guys on a personal level, and neither should you. The over-romanticizing of these dudes is weird, and it's creepy, and I don't do that. I'm a fan of them for what they could do for the team, and Joey Votto and Elly De La Cruz, stars of these teams, could do a hell of a lot more for me as a fan by holding the front office accountable. That's all. We don't have the power to hold the front office accountable. The players do. And we'd rather wave the pom-pom of they signed a contract and they should honor it. Like, that's weird to me. I don't care about that contract. Use that contract to go in there and say, get me the hell out of here if you don't want to win. I'm going to take that guy's side. So if Joey Votto said, you're not doing enough for us to win, I want out of here, you're mad at Joey Votto?
100% if you ink a 10-year contract and demand a trade in the middle of it.
Okay.
No question about it. What are the contracts for then?
Why would anybody want that?
Why would anyone? Yeah, that's crazy that you even think about wanting
You
that
wouldn't
to
look at him and say, yeah, he's saying exactly what I'm saying. I'm pissed at the Reds, too.
No. I would look at him and say, you're screwing over a city you promised to be here for 10 years with. Wow. I think it's crazy to have the other team to want your star players out.
I want my guys to want to win.
We want to win, too. That's it.
Look,
but
you want them to. You care more, but you overvalue honoring contracts than players wanting to win.
I don't think Joey Votto demanding a trade helps the Reds win.
I would respect him more had he done that.
I do not respect people that go back on contracts.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
remember that time that you offered him tickets, then you took the tickets back?
That's right.
Just saying.
The same way you respect, the same way. And by the way, a couple things. Over romanticizing sports is why we care about sports.
The sport's fine. The players.
No.
Yeah, that's the greatest part of sports is being
I know
a fan
you guys
of single
drool
guys.
when I watch a TV show, I like to feel what the characters are feeling. When I watch The Office, it's my favorite TV show.
When I see Elly sign that bat and hand it through the fence yesterday to a little kid that told him to hit a home run, I love seeing that. That's
cool.
part of sports. That's incredible.
And I would look at that little kid and say, do you want a winner? I'm going to go talk to the front office.
Well, then I mean.
Or do you want a winner? Too bad, kid, because I'm going to take every damn dime coming to me, and we're not going to win a damn game moving forward. But I got my money because my kid matters.
Well, if he wants to win, he goes somewhere else.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
You're saying if you want to win, go somewhere else, and I'm the bad guy in this whole conversation. That's what's
Because what you're suggesting is not possible.
It's possible. These guys have voices. They
There
have
hasn't
legs.
been one
They
instance
can
where
I'm
it
walk
saying
into the
putting
front
putting
office.
big contracts around Elly after you extend him is not possible.
It's possible.
It's possible.
They just
If the
not
Castellinis sell the team
with
and
a
the Reds
different
move to New
ownership
York.
group, it's possible.
Yeah,
That's-
then it's possible.
And won't.
If it's popsicle, it's possible. There's no instance of this happening, by the way, unless you can find one. I mean, I really don't think there is one. And the same thing you're saying, it's bad on us.
I gave
that
you
we wanted to honor
examples,
a
just not
contract.
baseball. And baseball athletes is why I don't like baseball as much as the other sports.
That's fair. I guess that's fair, and I can't argue it. I can't argue it. We got to go to a break, and then we got headlines and about 6 other segments in the last 15. And
Bengals
actually,
update with
it has to be a shortened segment too.
Oh yeah, we're way over.
So we got about a 10-minute segment coming up. Headlines coming up.
We're good on all the times on the segments. I've been writing them down.
Really?
Yeah. We're
Okay.
golden. In fact, this
Wow.
segment, you're cutting short because you're pissed off because you don't like my opinion. That's what's happening. You're trying to silence me. You're trying to.
I'm not
we
trying to
do want
silence-
it. We need to silence.
Okay, yeah.
We need
enough.
to silence it.
You know, fair enough. We'll be right back. We'll have a Bengals camp update with Jacob, and then we'll have Elliot's headlines to close out. More off the bench next. All right, welcome back. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. So I won the debate, so now we're moving on.
Yeah. You want it. You want it.
I will never run a poll. I'll lose every poll. I'll be like, come on. I mean, what?
Can we do a poll?
What?
Was Kinner right?
Yes, let's out of
Just say
curiosity.
that every day.
Just say, was Kinner right?
Let's just run that every day.
Yes or no?
But are you jerks going to vote yourself?
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna vote.
And you're gonna vote for yes.
No, that'd be more embarrassing if I do it that way.
All right, headlines.
Oh, we got to set you up. You got to
No,
get
no,
the
no.
sounder.
Casey's making the poll, so I know
All right, here we go.
Oh, headlines with Elliot.
Hang on. Headlines with Elliot.
I'm Jamie Madison.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, I didn't hear it.
It's not working.
It's okay. Go back to
that's
the poll.
right.
The poll.
Casey,
Elliot
if you could
with
figure this out, please, that'd be phenomenal.
All right, here we go. And
Elliot loves 3 things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
Yeah. Headlines. The Reds. They won a game. I like how I always put the Reds in my headlines as if we didn't spend 5 segments talking about them. But I'm going to read them because I wrote it. 10-3 the final score last night if you missed it. Home run fest. Noelvi Marte, Ty France, and Elly De La Cruz went yard twice. 4 home runs by the Reds. Elly 4 for 5, 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 3 RBIs, 3 runs scored. Seems like he wants to win. Ty France went 3 for 5. Jake Fraley 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs. Nick Martinez, he had a great start, 5 innings, allowing 4 hits, striking out 5. Nick Martinez, you talk about some of the questionable signings the Reds have had coming into this year. Nick Martinez is a good signing. That is a good baseball player, and I
Hopefully he
believe
sticks around.
Hopefully, yes, correct. Does he have an opt-out after this year or
It's a
next
player
year?
option for next year.
Okay, so we'll see if Nick Martinez sticks around. Jakob Junis, he struggled 1 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 3 earned runs. Jesus Sanchez hit the farthest home run of the MLB season last night, 487 feet. Yikes. But
It was a tater.
it was a tater. The Reds and Marlins back at it tonight. Nick Lodolo taking on Max Meyer.
I'd like him to be good again.
Yeah, I would. Nick Lodolo has struggled. He's coming in with a 3.99 ERA, 100 Ks. Max Meyer's a 3.8 ERA with 24 strikeouts. So we'll see if Nick Lodolo can bounce back a little bit. Has not been the same player since his most recent IL stint. Around the league,
I still want to picture that blister.
Every time you slander the other pitcher, they come out and pitch again.
True. The Dodgers win 5-3 against the Phillies yesterday. Ohtani hit another home run, adding a double and 2 RBIs and a stolen base, because why not? The White Sox, they have lost another baseball game. That is right. The Athletics beat the Chicago White Sox easily 5-1. They have tied the AL record with 21 losses in a row, record set in 1988 by the Orioles. One more, and they will have the all-time AL consecutive losing record. Again, the all-time modern record for all of Major League Baseball is 23, set in 1961. The all-time losses in a row record in all of baseball history was set in 1889. That's at 26. So there's a chance, again, that Friday night, if they play the Chicago Cubs and lose, they will have a fireworks show to celebrate breaking the modern record of most losses in a season consecutively.
I have a
Shout out
little
to
point
them.
myself on plus 2100 August
I like
13th
that.
against the Yankees to be their first win.
I like that a lot.
I think it feels good.
I think it feels. I think I'm going to bet the Cubs one.
There's,
By the way, there's other scores that happened last night. I'm not going to read them. We all know what happened. FC Cincinnati, they were down 2-0 late to New York City, as we mentioned. They scored 4 goals from the 79th minute on to win a game that nobody cares about, but good for them. NFL news, we mentioned it. The 49ers are open to trading Brandon Ayuk. It looks like it's a race between the Patriots and the Browns. Would you be sad that Amari Cooper would potentially leave?
I'll have Amari Cooper.
Let me ask you this. Would you trade Amari Cooper for Brandon Ayuk? Because that's the trade.
One more year of Cooper for 4 years or more of Ayuk? Yes, I would do that.
That'd be fine. Daniel Jones, he incited a fight yesterday at Giants-Lions joint practice. It was Greg Van Roten, was pushed into the ground by Aleem McNeil. Jones then shoved him in the back.
There were multiple fights yesterday.
Multiple fights.
There was one early. Amon-Ra made a contested catch and got in the Giants DB's face and let him know that he caught a contested catch, I guess, and the guy didn't like it. Shoved him back. Amon-Ra shoved him back, and then everyone came.
You guys like the joint practices?
Hate.
Can we pause on the headlines real quick?
Worst thing in the NFL. Every single one, there's a fight. Last year, Aaron Donald was swinging 3 helmets at Bengals practice.
I can't
First
stand
one
fights.
yesterday, Lions-Giants, there was 3 fist fights.
The
Why are we
bench was
doing it?
cleared like 4 times.
Yeah, play the preseason game. You don't need to practice with another team. You play 20 games a year if you count the preseason.
I think it's the dumbest thing I've
think
ever.
it's so
I think
stupid.
it's the dumbest thing. What
So-
if we're gonna risk injuries? If we're not gonna play starters during preseason, yada yada yada. Why are we risking another team coming in here, having a beef with one of my players, shoving him to the ground, and then throwing helmets at people? It's the dumbest thing I've ever
It's
heard.
dumb. Yeah.
A guy I work with in Dayton played in the NFL, and I asked him this same thing. He said teams get more out of these than preseason games.
Oh, I'm sure.
Which is why I've always mocked the preseason to begin with when we do the whole, man, Zach Taylor needs to play his starters more. But as we've talked about in the past, it's all, I always narrow it down to your Joe Burrows and Jamar Chases and guys like that, of course. But, as a whole, you want them to get reps. But, like, the teams get – it's the practices. The practices are where they're getting better. And these inter-squad scrimmages – not inter-squad scrimmages, but these dual practices here are really where they get better. So, like, this benefits them more than preseason games.
There was just another fight at the Lions Giants joint practice.
Right kneecaps. I like it.
Wide receiver Malik Neighbors and Lions safety Corey Joseph just got into a fight where on the play before, rookie cornerback Terrion Arnold had good coverage on Neighbors, breaking up a ball in the end zone, got into his face and let him know, and then Neighbors didn't like it, and punches were thrown.
Like, what
Yeah, especially.
Sounds like guys who are competitive and want to win. I love it.
I get it, but like, come on.
Yeah. Moving on, the Chiefs made Harrison Butker the NFL's highest paid kicker, 4 years, $25.6 million. I wonder what chore he had his wife do last night. Jim Harbaugh denies any wrongdoing at Michigan. Says he had no idea what was going on there. Nothing happened. Deny.
I
You
gotta-
believe Jimmy Harbaugh?
Yeah, of course I believe Jim. Why has anyone ever lied?
I believe Jim. I don't think he had any idea that there was cheating, or is that
No,
some
of
weird
course
guy
not.
wearing those super spy glasses?
Speaking of not having any idea what's going on in your program, I have a quote from legendary Michigan coach Bo Schembechler I'd like to share.
Oh,
When someone uncovers a scandal in their company, I don't think they can say I didn't know what was going on. They're just saying they're too dumb to do their job. And if they're really that dumb, then why are they getting paid millions of dollars to do it? They always know what's going on. Thanks, Bo.
I believe him.
I believe him.
I
believe
believe him. I believe him.
I believe him.
As far as that
Bo
goes.
knows.
Bo does know. It's true.
Yeah.
Good for Michigan.
But no,
That's a
I
team.
I
That's a
don't
team.
believe him. But we'll have the video here in a little bit. But the trolling efforts that he is doing
Oh,
by
yeah.
just going up there and mock. He could have just said, "I'm not commenting on that. I'm only talking about my team now." But he had to go and do this whole little spiel yesterday, just mocking everyone. Like, that's why I'm digging my heels in back, is because they're mocking everybody else for even thinking that this is a problem. So like, yeah.
You know the scene in I think there's Dark Knight Rises where Bane's taking the plane down and
Yes.
he cuts the parachute off of his accomplice and says they expect one of us in the wreckage.
Yeah,
Harbaugh brought every coach to the Chargers except for Sharon Moore.
that's true.
Just left him right in the fire.
That's true. Listen, I can't argue that one. That's a tough one.
I mean, Sharon Moore though, he did accept the job. It wasn't forced upon him.
No, of course
he
not.
chose to
Of course
go
not.
down, I guess.
It was just a clause in Harbaugh's contract
Yeah,
that if Harbaugh got fired,
Do
he
you
would go
think?
to your own
Well,
war.
do you,
that, yeah.
do you credit the Michigan football program for wanting to win so bad that they sent a guy out with super spy glasses and he went out there as a spy and he spied on other teams and he cheated? Do you
No.
credit
Figure it
them
out.
for wanting to win?
That's the highest form
Figure
of
it
wanting
out.
to win.
That's you can't.
They were
want to
showing
win
their
more than
players
that.
how badly they wanted to
That's
win.
right.
No.
Kinner's pro manifesto.
They want to win so bad. I just know Michigan State's entire playbook.
I thought you didn't like
and
when we
they're gonna
interrupted
win.
your headlines. Get back to your headlines.
You're right.
Yeah,
When
they all-
carry on. Back to the headlines.
When they all
Oh,
go to
Sean
the
said my
NFL,
favorite thing.
What, Jimmy?
when they all go to the NFL, they're really going to show their front offices how badly they want to win.
Yeah. Guys, I'll do anything to win. Anything.
Sean, this is my favorite thing Sean says. Zebras love fresh grass, sweet leaves, and stems. It makes me smile every time I read it. Did that have anything to do with anything? Nope. But that's it. Those are your headlines.
By the
Very
way,
nice.
the poll is still active. Is Kinner right or wrong? Just go vote. You know, we'll do the updated stat. What?
Surprisingly, it started off very much you were wrong, and now it's slowly declining down. It's at 67% wrong. It was at like 88.
He hired Kinner.
people
That
are
whole
on
ad
your
break
side.
made burners and voted yes.
Oh, he made some burners.
I have no
yeah.
burners, but I also have no friends. So these are legit. These are legit numbers coming in. As far as that's concerned. But that was Elliot with the headlines as far as that's concerned. Bengals camp continuing on. Yesterday was day number 10 without Jamar Chase. I don't know if that will continue into today. I haven't seen anything break as far as that's concerned. But a lot going on at camp. The Bengals have lost a player. The hell was that? Was that you, Jimmy?
It was Casey.
Damn it,
Whoa.
Casey.
Casey was watching the latest fight.
Oh,
Casey's trying to stay up to date on the happenings of the sport.
He got into a fight again as we were doing headlines.
Oh,
like
very
it's
nice.
not just the Kirby Joseph fight. He also got into someone else.
No, Terrion broke up his pass. Kirby Joseph came to let him know that a rookie just clamped you, and neighbors punched him in the face. So.
Blank, baby.
Let him know.
That's
Do you
right.
think Jamar, since he'd be asking a good question, should Chase yell at ownership for not wanting to win?
They are winning. They've been to a Super Bowl. They've won back-to-back AFC championships. He wouldn't have that leverage.
Got to win the Super Bowl, though.
I'm actually crediting the Bengals. They are the best organization in this city. They are doing what they need to win games.
Whoa. We got a soccer club doing pretty good.
That's right. They beat the New York City club last night
With all the backups on the field.
with none of their players starting. The other
4-1,
team-
and it was
the
the
other
most
team
electric
didn't
game
play
of all time.
any of their players.
This is what this debate.
5 points.
This is what this debate has done. I've turned into a Bengal bro over here. As far as that's concerned. But nice troll job. Nice attempt. But
And the Cyclones. The Cyclones have won a couple of those. What are they called?
Kelly Cups.
Kelly Cups. I was going to call it the Riley Cups. Kelly Cups.
I think it's Kelly Cup.
I think it's Kelly. I think you're right.
D cup. What? What do you got?
What are we doing?
No, I asked Jacob this yesterday after work. How concerned are you with the Jamar Chase thing? I'm not really concerned about it because this just is a thing that happens right before a player signs a mega deal. So I'm not really concerned that they're going to get a deal done. Jacob was a little
I
concerned.
have a moderate level of concern.
Jacob's a little concerned.
I have a moderate level of concern. I've learned to not really trust the Bengals to just have a smooth sailing when it comes to contracts. They're very strict about the structure they like to do, when they like to put bonuses in, all that good stuff. So I don't think this is going to be a smooth road. Kinner's been on this for a long time, that whenever the Jamar Chase contract came to be, that it would be a bumpy road, and it wouldn't just be as simple as a lot of people expected it to be. And obviously we're seeing that come true basically every day. But he continues to stay engaged during camp. It's not like he's flipping the bird to the ownership or anything like that. Ayuk, when he was holding in at the Niners camp, it wasn't nearly as involved and engaged. Not that it's great that he's holding out. Obviously I want him to practice, but I'm not gonna necessarily press the panic button quite yet, but I've at least taken it out of the closet, blown off the dust. I know where it's at.
Yep.
Well, I saw, what was the interview Joe Burrow did with Good Morning Football, whatever? What was it? So Kay Adams, is that her name?
Yeah.
She asked a silly question. What Zach Taylor? What does it say about Jamar Chase that he still shows up to camp even though he's upset about his current contract situation? He's literally Marshawn lynching it right now. He's there so he doesn't get fined. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to give him credit for that. I'm not going to give him credit for showing. If he doesn't show up, he gets fined. And it used to be if you didn't show up and you get fined and when you get the deal done, you waive the fines. Teams aren't allowed to waive the fines anymore. He's there, so he doesn't get fined. He started this whole mess a year earlier than he absolutely needed to. So, is what it is. But there you go.
It's true.
What?
I was just saying. I feel like if he wanted to win, he wouldn't.
He'd be out there.
Yeah, he'd be out in the field.
This isn't the same thing.
It's
not.
It's a little bit.
It's not. It's not. I don't mind a player going after their money, but not at the expense of the team winning.
All right.
All right, continue on. Jacob with the Bengals camp updates.
That's right. It's been a big deal. A couple days of Bengals camp, getting into the full swing of things. One of the major free agent signings of the offseason made his camp debut yesterday. Trent Brown cleared for practice a couple days ago. He made his first look at him in stripes yesterday. He was working with the twos. I think it's notable to say that Mims was still with the ones. So exciting for his development. Rave reviews. Project. That's right. Big time project. Rave reviews from coaches, from Joe Burrow, from everybody. Burrow said he's one of the most athletic linemen that he's ever played with. He's picking up the offense very, very easily. But other news on Trent Brown, aside from his massive tattoo on his right arm of himself and two women engaging in phallic acts, he said that he thinks it does not matter for him to go out there for a series in the preseason. He'll still take reps and learn the offense in the offseason, but it's just not a big deal to get preseason reps. Reminder, this is just a couple of weeks after Zach Taylor said that their rationale in the organization was going to change this year. We were going to see starters play in the preseason, and Trent Brown missed the beginning of camp on the injured list. He was hurt on a non-football injury this offseason. A lot of people speculated that it might have been because he was out of shape, and now he's talking about not wanting to play in the preseason. So that's not exactly the sentiment that you want to hear from a guy on a one-year deal that's presumably going to be in a position battle this season. On the other side of the ball, on the defensive line, we heard that Cam Sample tore his Achilles, I believe, and he'll be out for the entire season. That's a real devastating blow to the Bengals, as the defensive line depth was always a big question this season with the loss of DJ Reader, and you didn't really know how these guys were going to plug into different roles. Cam Sample was poised to play a big role as a rotational piece on the edge, and obviously now you're going to be without him. The injuries continued to mount as McKinley Jackson limped off the field with the trainers looking at his low leg. He ended up getting on a cart and being carted off. All the reports after that were that it wasn't too bad, and we'd expect to see him within the next day or two, so hopefully those come true. Harrison Butker's contract, the highest for a kicker ever, as Elliot touched on in the headlines, means a lot for the Bengals, as this is the offseason where it would make a lot of sense to extend Evan McPherson. If you don't do it this offseason, you're going to have to do it next offseason. And as we talked about with Jamar Chase, it goes the same for every position. As more people get extended, the price just continues to go up. So McPherson, even though it is a kicker and it's not that much more money, it's probably $500,000 or so that are going to be stacked on top of his deal as opposed to what it would have been if you got it done before Butker. So important to keep an eye on all the contracts going on everywhere else in the NFL, because whether you like it or not, those will continue to affect the Bengals.
Yep.
And that was Jacob's Bengals camp update as far as that's concerned. That season-ending injury stinks for some.
Brutal. He was a guy I was really excited about. I thought he could have made a difference on the D-line. Just more and more is going to fall on the shoulders of Myles Murphy. Just need him to, I'm not going to say not be a bust. I'm not even close to calling him a bust after last year. He didn't play much. He was a big rotational piece, and he dominated when he played. He had the highest pass rush win rate of any rookie last season once he stepped on the field. So I have a lot of faith in Myles Murphy. He's going to need to step up and take a big role, though, with the loss of Sample.
We do have 4 more minutes. We're good.
4 more minutes?
Yep. We're good. I have the time. I've been writing them down.
There's no way that's right.
Yeah. First segment was 16, 14. Second segment, 15, 17. We did a 10-minute middle segment. That last segment we did was 10. That's why I was joking with you, saying you don't like my take. You silenced me.
There's no way that's right.
Way.
He doesn't believe you.
I was keeping the time.
All right, well, then I'm going to cut it short.
I don't mean to be disrespectful.
You're never disrespectful, dude.
I said it to the same time every time.
So we're going to end the radio show, and we'll do buy or sell, or not buy, news or not news, to close out on the YouTube side. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in on the radio side. This has been Off the Bench, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Shirtless, no helmet.
How do you hug your mom with that?
But that's like, so when people say you get tattoos, like when I got mine, oh, you're gonna go to work that way? Yes, I am. I'm like, this is a cactus.
Well, that's not.
This is
we're
a
off
cactus.
the radio, right?
Yeah,
we're off the
That's
radio.
not a picture of yourself with 2 women. I'm not even gonna say it, even though we are
not
off
on,
the radio.
not on this arm. Not on this arm,
Okay,
dude.
it's hiding.
But no, like that's what I laugh at. I'm like, that old school mindset of you can't have tattoos, you're not gonna get jobs. But like the amount of confidence to have that shitty tattoo that he has, and then to be shirtless doing interviews with media all around like that, like. And then just to say the things that he said, like, I don't like him, and you guys shouldn't like him either. Not just because, but like, he just comes across very weird, man. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've-
He was an interesting cat coming in, and he's already living up to it only 10 days into camp.
Yeah, I've soured on him in the last 24 hours. My whole thing with Mims was I think it's best for him to have Trent Brown and Orlando start this year and have him develop between 2 guys with very similar body types that have had NFL success. But after Trent Brown's first comments, I'd start Mims. I mean, I don't really care. If he doesn't want to compete for it, if he thinks it's his spot when he walks in the door and puts on the jersey, that's not the kind of guy I want on a team that I think can win a Super Bowl. I want a guy who's ready to go out there and compete every day, and I think that seems to be Amarius Mims so far.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a psycho a little bit, but to each their own.
You knew that coming in, though. You knew that coming in, and you took a risk
Yeah.
not knowing what you were going to be able to get in the draft, and obviously you have a really exciting tackle fall into your lap, so maybe he won't get to play. But it's important to recognize that when we signed Trent Brown, we did not have Amarius Mims, so he would have been a crucial piece to this team.
Interesting.
I'm watching. What's that?
Well, I was just gonna say, let me see your tattoo.
You got the whole.
Oh yes,
the-
I like
Good
that.
stuff.
I wanted to get a tattoo. I want to get one. I want to get like I remember Scooter Gennett had a cool one. It was just like a long arrow right on his on the forearm. I really liked it.
You should get a hyper-realistic drawing of a lion mauling a zebra.
Yes, I should do that. Or just a zebra, like Sean says, eating sweet leaves.
Whole back piece.
Fresh green grass, huh?
Whole back piece.
Oh my God,
That'd be pretty cool.
Great.
You could still wear a T-shirt. No
Little
one would know.
Elliot,
Nobody would
little
ever know.
Elliot back piece. Huh?
That'd be
Nobody would ever know. I'm sure it wouldn't be painful
Jimmy
at all
has
to
a
have
sick
that.
back piece.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
You look like
Is
a guy
it
who does
2
tattoos.
women or 3? Jimmy 3 hoes. I don't know what we're allowed to say.
Oh, check your phone. I think you're getting a text from Bailey.
By the way, I'm watching these shots of these fights coming out of camp. Why do players keep punching guys in the head when they have a helmet on?
See, I think that's a bad take. It hurts.
It hurts.
Your hand.
Yes. Oh no.
the puncher.
Punching. As a football, I've punched helmets before. It doesn't hurt your hand as much as you think, and it's effective.
Just kind of rattles the brain a little bit.
Oh yeah. It's effective.
That's
Like a
wild to
ear
me.
hole.
I'm sure. But
You gotta.
Ear hole, or on the new Speed Flexes, the plastic next to the indent bends in, so if you hit them right there, it works too.
All right, fair enough. But yeah, all these videos popping out are pretty wild.
it's so annoying.
Like he walked by and just kind
Yeah.
of popped him
The
upside
best
the head
one
lightly.
is always, my favorite one's always AJ Green, Jalen Ramsey. Just fighting each other to the death on the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, they
Choke slam.
having Aaron Donald last year. Was it last year or the year
Dual
before?
wielding
Was it last year or the
Bengals
year-
helmets? Yeah, last year.
Yeah, just swinging that. I mean, just going for the kill shot.
That was insane.
I'm sorry, Aaron Donald.
He
I
wasn't
mean,
suspended for that.
Oh, come on.
he wasn't, was he?
No.
No, of course not.
Like, I'm all for the fights. Fights happen, whatever. But like, when you got a man that big and he's known for that size and strength, and he's using a helmet as a weapon at that point, that goes back to the Myles Garrett and the.
I was gonna say your players do that all the time.
and all that stuff. What are we doing? Let's talk about that tattoo on that wonderful player of yours again, who's protecting.
Tattoo
Jesus
on the
himself.
arm, attempted murder with a violent weapon.
Or
It was Mason
even
Rudolph.
Do we want to talk
It
about
was-
your? Do we want to talk about your quarterback?
It was Mason Rudolph. So
Mason Rudolph, hell of an Oklahoma State quarterback.
he gets a pass.
Good college numbers.
Myles
Great
Garrett gets a
college
pass. It was Mason Rudolph.
But how many games was he suspended? He was suspended for
think it was
the whole back half, right?
God, how many games was he suspended?
I'm pretty sure he was suspended for the whole back half of that regular season.
It was the
And
rest
then-
of the regular season, but I don't know how many.
Yeah.
I don't know where it fell.
But I don't understand how last year there was no suspension whatsoever. It doesn't make sense to me. It was the same
I remember
thing.
when it happened, reading about it, and apparently the ability the NFL has to enact suspensions from practices is not the same as games.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess because not televised.
Practice suspensions fall on the team and everything like that. And
Interesting.
since games are NFL officiated.
How would that? Still doesn't
I just
make
remember
sense.
reading that last year. I might
wonder
be,
if he
I
was-
might be butchering the explanation, but I remember
Was he
reading something about
fined?
that
Was
last
he
year.
fined at all? Was there no punishment for it at all for him just swinging helmets? I don't think there was.
I don't think there was.
It's crazy.
Hall of Famer. First ballot.
He is a first ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt it.
69% of the vote says I was wrong. Oh, now to 70. Damn it. Nice. Anyways. All right, little news, not news, to close out the show here today. News, not news. John Gruden has been helping at Chiefs training camp. News, not news.
Not news. I don't know. I heard about that this morning. Was he in a Chiefs uniform?
So
He was.
Yeah.
he's worked with multiple teams in recent years, or like since being fired or whatever. But
I don't really think it's news. I mean, they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. What more could they need, I guess? But I understand the whole Gruden was fired and all that. I'm not sure if they'll bring him on or something, but I feel like probably not. I think it's just maybe another voice for now, just to kind of be around the team. It doesn't feel like news to me. I feel like it's kind of just one of those random, someone comes to training camp and knows a little bit about football and kind of just hanging around the team kind of thing. But I'm not sure. What do you guys think?
Casey, what about you? News, not news. John Gruden at Chiefs camp helping out.
In terms of helping the roster and
Working with
developing
he's working with quarterbacks, working drills and stuff like that.
Yeah, like that doesn't matter, but him being there is a little. Just his presence being in an NFL setting is probably a little bit of newsworthy, just because of all the scandals and stuff that he went through, and the fact that he was a Raiders head coach for the longest time, and those two have very bad blood. They're rivals, so I don't know. It's a little newsworthy in that sense, but he's not helping the team in any way, if you ask me.
I think it's news. I think it's news for sure. I think he's one of the best quarterback coach minds that we've seen in the game in recent memory. And if he's working with the best quarterback and the best offensive-minded coach in the game, I think that's news. I think when they bring him on, if they bring him on to the roster, that'll be much bigger news. But I think him being there makes a difference. I think if you could name people you want to be your quarterback's coach, excluding off-the-field issues, John Gruden would be pretty high on that list.
Yep.
He led the NFL scouting for a long time on ESPN for quarterbacks. You know, all the
What was the quarterback show?
Gruden's QB room,
Yeah.
and all that stuff was phenomenal. He knows the ins and outs of offenses. He knows how the NFL works. He's won a Super Bowl, so I think it's news. I think he's a difference-making coach.
I think Andy Reid is 66 years old. At some point, the dynasty for him, he will call it quits. He will retire off into that glorious sunset. And if they were to somehow replace him with a coach similar to the caliber that is John Gruden, I'd be a little concerned, because that's obviously a very good football coach there. So yeah, I'm going to say it is news.
So John Gruden last year was working with the Buccaneers during camp. He was working with Baker Mayfield in the so it's news because he's just working around football. I think the fact that it's the Chiefs is irrelevant, but it does. You got the Chiefs. It's the back-to-back, defending Super Bowl champions. You got John Gruden there with already a loaded staff and roster to begin with. But no, I don't think it's not news because it has no impact on the Chiefs whatsoever. It's just news because I think he's going to get back into coaching at some point. Obviously, being fired for what he got fired for, it wasn't bad enough, obviously, in the eyes of these teams that led him around the franchises. So we'll keep an eye on that as far as that's concerned. News or not news? Start with you, Jacob. The NFL Players Association informed NFL and Fanatics that they are not permitted to sell Marvin Harrison Jr. jerseys based on the wishes of his representatives.
I think it's news because it's like, what's going on? This
Yeah,
is the
weird.
first major player that we've seen really push back on this Fanatics monopoly.
Yeah.
He has his own, the Harrison Collection website where he sells jerseys himself, and they're kind of the same quality of jersey you'd get off a DH gate or whatever else, but he signs them all. And that's the way he sells jerseys. So I wonder if this is the start of maybe something a little bit bigger of guys pushing back against Fanatics. It's a monopoly I feel like people don't really talk about very often. They're the only place you can buy licensed sports gear.
Yeah.
They're the exclusive provider of MLB jerseys and now NHL jerseys. And they're the only place that has all the licenses for the NFL. So it's a true monopoly. And in any other, kind of field or area, any other market, it would probably have been put a stop to a long time ago. So I wonder if this will, shed some light on what's really going on with Fanatics and how the quality has diminished so drastically over the last few years. I think it's news, and I think it's news in another sense around here because I don't know about you, Kenner, but I'd certainly have a Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey by now if they were selling them.
By the way, I'm only distracted because Michael Ackley said, "Is the crew all going out to buy weed after the show today?" So sorry,
No, just Jimmy.
I think, I think
Jimmy's just selling it.
NIL. I think these athletes coming out of college now are more business savvy. I think NIL has taught them to be that way. I don't necessarily dislike it or like it. I mean, you're kind of a rookie. You're everyone's going after you. I get that, but like, it's kind of very loud going into the league. And if he doesn't live up to the hype, I think it's going to add even more pressure to him to deliver. That's my only concern. But hey, if you come in and you dominate like he's expected to, then this isn't going to be anything. But I do believe if he comes in and he doesn't live up to, if he's not what talk about all great wide receivers coming in, but not recent Buckeye wide receivers. If he doesn't come in and dominate the league the way we've seen others do, I can see it being used against him as 100%. Far as that's concerned. Elliot, what do you think?
Is his jerseys on his official website? They're not like actual Cardinals jerseys?
They're licensed through, so they're only Ohio State jerseys.
Just
on
Ohio
there, at least
State.
the last I checked, and he's licensed with the logo through NIL with Ohio State.
I see. Interesting.
But they're still not like the jerseys you would get off Fanatics are higher quality.
Yes. I'm going to say it is news because I think it's very strange. Not to mention because I think it actually hurts his growth a little bit because I think everybody wants the Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey. It's just part of the thing with kids, and I want to be like my favorite player, and you can't be like your favorite player if you don't have the jersey, if you can't look like him. So I think it is news from that stance, and I think you guys are right that maybe there is something deeper going on with the Fanatics stuff that nobody else knows about. I think it's pretty significant news that they're not just selling arguably the most popular player from that draft. His jersey is not being sold.
I would say outside of the quarterbacks, it certainly is.
Yeah.
By the way, Reed's comment in there is absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, that's we don't need.
You sold something behind Walmart, dude?
No,
That's weird.
no. I
true?
sell love and friendship to everyone in my life, and that is all I sell.
Is
All
that
right.
true?
No.
Couple more minutes remaining quickly. News or not news about Marvin Harrison?
Somebody said you did.
I would say it's news, just because of all the points that have already been stated. It seems like it could be a little bit bigger. Fanatics has monopoly pretty much on every major sports team jersey that you can think of. Maybe there's something deeper there. Maybe he's going to start a new trend. Who knows? It's something to keep an eye on. I don't know if it's like breaking news, but it's like I'm going to keep following this and see if this develops into something more.
Question: are you able to go on the Cardinals website and customize a?
No.
No, you're not. They blocked it.
Yep, his name's anyone in the NFL. He's the only player right now, but anyone in the NFL that doesn't have their deal signed with Fanatics, you can't type the name in. I think you can do Harrison.
Harrison.
I think you could do Harrison, number 18,
Not
since his
Harrison
last
Jr.
name is technically Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I'd say I think it's news just because he's the only one we haven't really seen especially a high draft pick as he was and how promising he is as a wide receiver prospect. Probably would have been the number one overall pick in some of the past year's drafts. So I think the demand for his jersey would be high, and I think that's a lot of money that he's kind of missing out on.
Yeah, just
for the
briefly
jersey
while we're
sales.
on Marvin Harrison, one of the teams linked to Brandon Ayuk right now is the New England Patriots. And apparently they have a deal in for Ayuk that the Niners have already accepted, and they're just waiting on Ayuk to accept the terms of that deal. My question for the Patriots would be, if you're looking to spend and move capital and get a true number one wide receiver, why didn't you take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3? You could have had a
Especially because the
rookie
quarterback
contract. Your
wasn't
your quarterback situation is questionable at best. You missed out on the first 2 quarterbacks in the draft. I mean, maybe they love Drake May, but all the reports coming out of camp is that he's been underwhelming so far. I think they might be looking at themselves in a couple of years, kicking themselves for not taking Marv there if they do move a lot of assets for a number one wide receiver here soon.
Especially for a team that has struggled so much to draft the wide receiver position. Like that, if there was ever a can't miss wide receiver, he was right there in your lap, and you let him. And you took a quarterback that I don't think was a generational quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh man, we can get Caleb Williams or get Marvin Harrison Jr. You took Drake May. It's not like I don't think that was a quarterback that you needed to get at that moment, as far as I'm concerned. But especially because if you don't have the quarterback and you don't win a lot of games, you'll be picking high in next year's draft and take there's a lot of quarterbacks.
And a lot of
coming
people
out.
are saying who would have thrown Marv the ball, and I understand that gripe. But if you have a chance to take a generational wide receiver or a quarterback you're going to talk yourself into in the top 5, I think you just wait a year. We've seen how bad it is for teams to have purgatory quarterbacks that are just good enough to be competitive. The Andy Daltons of the world, who I love and I respect everything Andy did here in Cincinnati. But at some point, you have to move on from a guy who's not good enough to get you over the edge. And I think that might be what Drake May is.
Yeah, and people who throwing the ball. Well, next year. I mean,
Right.
when you're a rebuilding team, not every pick is about helping you win that very next season. It's about the full picture or the big picture. And the big picture is we'll get him, and then we'll go get someone to throw him the ball at some point. Jacoby Brissett, too. It's not a terrible person
all right.
to be throwing you the football.
Yeah, Jacoby Brissett listed starter and Sam Darnold listed starter on first depth charts. And Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams are both starting for their teams.
J.J. Cheatham McCarthy, benched, backup. There you go. All right, we're out of time. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, hanging out today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Any closing thoughts? Anybody? Reds make it 2 in a row.
That'd be cool.
They're going to start what is going to be a 4-game sweep of the Marlins.
I hope they do.
If they win 8 in a row, I'll be excited.
If they win every game the rest of the season, I'm back in.
I am back in as well if they do that.
Deal?
Deal.
Okay.
Deal.
There we go.
Gosh.
All right, have a good night or have a good day, everybody.